It's
Hey, Chris.
it's July 15th, 2021 at 6:32. Good evening and welcome commissioners, participants, and interested parties to the July 15th, 2021 meeting of Cohasset Conservation Commission. I'm Chris McFarland, Chairman of the Conservation Committee, and we'll be running tonight's meeting as we implement the Massachusetts and Cohasset Wetlands Protection Acts and the Cohasset Stormwater Management Regulations. We'll be operating this meeting using the Zoom platform. Any applicants will be elevated to participant at the beginning of each hearing. If anyone from the public wishes to comment, please enter your name and address and comment into the chat box. We'll keep an eye on that with each hearing. Present this evening on behalf of the Conservation Commission is our town interim conservation agent, Steve Ibis. Hello, Steve.
Hi, everybody.
I'd like to now take a roll call vote of the Conservation Commissioners and Associate Commissioner. Please respond by repeating your name and saying present. Kathy Berrigan.
Kathy Berrigan, present.
Eric Eisenhower.
Eric Eisenhower, present.
Patricia Grady.
Patricia Grady, present.
Jay Pampari.
Jay Pampari, present.
And Chris McFarland is present. And Associate Commissioner Tom Bell.
Tom Bell, present.
Tonight we have a quorum of 5 commissioners. We'll be taking votes via roll call with each commissioner answering yay, nay, or abstain. We have a couple minutes here, but we might as well help Megan to get the right people involved. Let's see, participants, attendees, panelists. So Megan, I think it's just Jeff Hassett for the, and David Wan. Jeff Hassett and David Wan should be elevated for this first hearing, please.
Okay, they've been promoted. I don't know who is going to be sharing the screen, so I can promote you to co-host.
That would be
Jeff
myself.
Hassett would. Jeff, is there anyone else that needs to be promoted?
No, I believe just David and myself. So we're good.
Very good. So our first hearing tonight, there it goes. 6:35, right on the nose, is a show cause enforcement hearing for 83 Spring Street. There was a site visit a few weeks back, and the applicant is going to show us their proposal for stabilizing the driveway edges. So Jeff, give it to you.
Great. Thank you very much, Chris. Jeff Hassett here with Morse Engineering, and David Wan is on the call as well. He is a property owner. So we did submit a plan. It was dated July 7th, and it's in response to the outstanding show cause and the enforcement order. And we also submitted a letter dated the same. And just to quickly summarize that letter, we're submitting a plan to stabilize the driveway. We'll give you a little background on that driveway. It's assumed to have been built in 1955 when the house was built. It is shown as a 12-foot way on land court plans dating back to 1964. And it's described in deeds as a 12-foot wide back in 1965, which discussed the maintenance and the repair of it. The gravel driveway was improved again in 2001 when they installed a water service, a sewer service, and culverts below it. That was done in compliance with an orders of conditions, and a certificate of compliance was issued for that work. And then more recently, which has brought about this enforcement order, is that underground electric and gas services were installed. And that work was approved under an order of conditions associated with raising and reconstructing the house. So where we stand now is that we're looking for a way to better stabilize that driveway. And And I think the cross-section that we submitted shows it the best.
Jeff, this is Jay. You mentioned you submitted this on July 7th. Who did you submit that to? And could you just, I'm not doubting you, the issue that we have on our end is that we don't have anything on our OneDrive. So I'm just
I was told that. That's why I kind of summarized the letter. But it was submitted on, I think I misspoke, July 8th, not the 7th. And I submitted that to Angela and to Steve Ivis, to both his personal or work email as well as the town email. And then I was able to forward that on to Greg Morris and David Wan. If you'd like, I can bring up that email.
Well, I trust the email. I just, but I'm just for the record, this information has not been relayed back to the Conservation Commission members themselves. So, it's unfortunate that we don't have any. So this is the first time we're seeing any of this, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
The information was not relayed to us, so I have not seen the letter. No one has seen the letter. No one has seen this plan. This is the first time that at least any of the commission, the building department may have seen this already. However, the information has, again, not been uploaded to our OneDrive. So this is the first time that we're seeing any of this, just FYI.
Okay, I'll review the plan in a little more.
And let me tell you that I've seen the information, looked over the information, and have not been able to upload to the OneDrive. I have not been given proper instructions on how to use the damn thing, okay? That's why it hasn't been uploaded to the OneDrive.
Okay. So the plan is, it's a pretty simple plan view. We're using the survey information from the previously approved plan. It shows that the utility is the tree line, the wetland line. And that plan called out conservation markers at 40 feet on center, which we're keeping that note because I think it is essential to what we're talking about. And then calling out the driveway, the existing gravel driveway, to be stabilized with 10-foot wide asphalt, 1-foot gravel shoulders, and stabilizing the slopes on either side with 2 to 4 inch angular stone. We keep the erosion control barrier detail on the plan, as well as the wetland post detail. And it's a pretty simple detail to stabilize it. You know, we're gonna pave it to a width of 10 feet and stabilize the shoulders with the riprap stone. The intent of this is, currently the width of the driveway really is not defined. And by actually paving it, it will define it so that in the future it can't be widened without obviously being measured and noticed. And secondly, it's just gravel driveways require maintenance. You know, you get potholes, you have to fill them, regrade it, and they're prone to erosion, both from the driveway and more prone to erosion from the side slopes. So this would eliminate or make it very less likely that you would have any erosion, much less unlikely. So with that, we submitted only a week ago. It wasn't in adequate time to submit a formal notice of intent application. So it's really just a plan that we want to put in front of you for discussion. If you're amenable to it, then we'd move forward with a formal filing.
And so, commission members, I had 2 comments for Jeff, which I think I relayed them both to him. Number 1, I'd love to see larger stone, 4 to 6 inch stone. They'll remain a lot more stable. And number 2, the plan doesn't have anything about removing the stones that were thrown into the wetland from the previous work this year, putting the underground gas and electricity utilities in. So those are the 2 things that I'd like to see.
Were there a lot of stones, Steve?
Yes, there sure are.
And are they random in size?
Yes, all the way from cobbles to small boulders. Would you agree with that, Jeff?
Are we talking about something that could be removed by hand?
Yes.
Okay.
There are many though. There are many of them.
Okay. Yeah, I'd certainly be agreeable to that. We'd submit it when we submit the formal plan. We would put notations on it to remove those stones by hand.
Sure.
And
they
using
can
larger stone is fine.
They can be identified very easily because the stones that were put in the wetland this year don't have any stains on them. They're not colored darkly, as Tom Bell and I noted when we were out there on site.
So Steve, in your opinion, the removal of those stones, the whoever's doing it kind of walking through the wetland is less destructive to the wetland than just leaving the stones in there?
Yes, due to the number of stones that are left in there.
Okay. All right.
Chris, just to clarify, these stones were not laid down as stepping stones. This was debris that apparently came out of the trench and was just casually heaved into the marsh beside the driveway. So they didn't serve any purpose other than get them out of the way.
Right. Okay.
Jeff, can I ask, I thought you mentioned in your introduction that the width of the driveway at 12 feet was established by land court in what year was that?
He said 1962, I believe, didn't he?
1964.
64, I'm sorry, I wrote it down 64, yes.
1964, and the width that was established was 12 feet, is that correct?
Yep, it's labeled at 12 feet wide.
Okay,
Then,
so
and
you've
that
got
was
a driveway
that's
now. Here you've got a driveway that looks, if just based on the scale here I'm looking at, looks like your riprap on the sides is probably 3 to 4 feet. And I think that's the number you mentioned. So if we take the smaller number there, we're adding 6 feet to a 12-foot driveway. And that makes it 18 feet. Yet the land court said the driveway can only be 12 feet wide, or is 12 feet wide.
no.
How do you reconcile that?
So, I mean, land court said the way was 12 feet wide. They didn't discuss
okay.
how wide the shoulders were, the traveled way. The intent of this plan is not to widen what's currently there. It's to the width, between the tree. Basically, we shot the tree line on either side, and it grades up from there, and it's variable. The intent really isn't to adjust the width of the banks, just to stabilize them with the angular stone and the filter fabric.
It seems
We're
to
not
me if the
proposing to
land court
widen it.
established the width here of your right of way as 12 feet, you should be working within that 12 feet. Maybe I'm wrong about this.
It's a right of way over the subject property that the property owner owns. So he really doesn't need a right of way to begin with. At one point in history, that this was made up of 2 lots, and that's why they created the right of way. But it's a bit of a moot point today, as the applicant owns both of those lots.
Okay, but the land court did establish that the width of this was 12 feet. And when we were out there, we could measure everything from, I believe, something less than 12 feet if no trees were cut in 1 or 2 places. And then as wide as, Steve, do you remember what the maximum width was? Was it as much as 16?
About
feet?
16 feet.
Yeah, that's my recollection as well.
Yeah. Mhm.
So on your plan, you show something that's somewhat irregular. It pinches and swells from one end to the other.
So the 10-foot paved will obviously remain 10-foot paved. I could change the note on the shoulders to be variable width shoulder, minimum of 1 foot wide, stabilized with the gravel, and then the riprap beyond there in any sloped areas.
Jeff, it seems to me that we have a plan here which presents us with an upgrade of the existing driveway, which apparently is, from what Tom says and you say, is 12 feet in width. But I'm having a problem understanding why anything more than 12 feet doesn't represent an incursion into the wetlands with unauthorized material. That's my problem. Could you please deal with that, Jeff?
Certainly. The wetland line has been established. It's essentially at the toe of the slope on either side. We're not proposing,
I'm sorry. You talk about something I'm not familiar with. What is the toe of the slope? I'm looking for a 12-foot wide marker, an indication. Anything more than that, I think based on what you've presented, represents wetland that's being consumed by this structure. Maybe, correct me if I'm wrong.
that you're wrong.
I would agree with Jeff,
I
Eric.
vote yes.
To be blunt. So the wetland line is the blue line, and that entire area through this section, for example, has been filled back in either the 50s or the 60s. That we're not proposing to add any fill. We're not proposing to fill any wetlands. All of the work is within this previously disturbed area dating back to the 60s and 70s. I mean, I'm sorry, 50s and 60s. So
how do you know this? You've got a very precise timeline here, 50s and 60s. And when we were out there, everything was covered by recent gravel. Have you dug through that recent gravel to establish that these widths have been there for 30 years? I didn't see any trenches or anything to indicate any sort of an investigation that might have tried to establish what the width was before this most recent renovation of the driveway took place.
Let me help with that. Jeff, when was the area flagged, please?
So this property was flagged back in 2016, prior to really any work having been done on this property in many years.
Right. And so, the flagging would have been done at what we call the toe of the slope, Eric. That's the bottom portion where the slope stops sloping and gets to an even location. So that's what I take as how wide it was back in 2000. Did you say 16? Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. So before any gravel was added.
Did you take any pictures of the site before it was modified?
I did. So I submitted a before and after picture. This above picture. Well, when I went out in the last few weeks, I took the bottom picture, and then Mr. Wan had a video of the excavator driving back when they started this work, the most recent work. And I was able to capture the same location. You see that tree and this tree to show that, it has not been widened through that area. But what you can also see there is really the width is, what would you call the edge of the driveway? It's really not defined. So with this proposal, we'll pave it to 10 feet wide and then stabilize the shoulders.
Jeff, if you were to ask me where the width is, you say it's not defined. If I look at your top photograph, there are tracks of the vehicle in the middle, the two on the left and on the right, and then it looks like a lot of rock or material, loose material, for a period of maybe 2 to 3 feet, and then you have your silk sock. It looks to me like the original path was limited by those two driveway marks in the center, which not where you happen to put the silk sock, which is substantially narrower.
Is that even a silt sock on the right-hand side? What is that material? Those logs, or it's kind of hard to tell.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
It's green. It looks like there's moss growing on it to me, but I don't quite understand what we're looking at there.
So if you look, the approved plan, actually, why don't I go to the approved plan from two? This is the approved plan for the raise and rebuild. And if you note, the dashed line is the proposed erosion control barrier. That was proposed to be installed along the wetland line at the toe of the slope, which is where they put it, except in areas it's higher than the toe of the slope. So it's more in compliance, more conforming.
So this really emphasizes that pinch and swell aspect to this driveway. It's quite wide where your cursor was, and then when you go down to around B13, it's quite a narrow driveway. I mean, it seems like you got to decide how wide this thing's going to be. you gonna have some sort of thing that looks like a python that swallowed a pig, or is this gonna be a driveway?
It's going to be, we're proposing to pave it to only 10 feet wide. 10 feet is the width of a parking space. We can't go any narrower than that.
Can I just jump in here? I think we're missing the pink elephant in the room here with respect to the whole paving. Steve, have you had a chance to look at our bylaws and looked at section 26 and how this potentially could comply with our bylaws at all?
I'm sorry, I don't remember section 26 specifically. Would you like to elucidate?
Yeah, so section 36 is a specific bylaw section in our bylaws that talks about paving and impervious surface. And we've talked about this on, which is, basically it talks about, I'll read it for you. Because impervious surfaces accelerate runoff into resource areas, eliminate the ability of the ground to absorb water and act as a filter for pollutants, the use of any impervious surface for driveways, walks, or patios in a resource area or buffer zone is prohibited absent good cause shown. New impervious areas are discouraged at Little Harbor and Straits Pond due to water quality issues. Historically, this commission has not approved any impervious surfaces in the form of a driveway in the buffer zone. I see this project going completely backwards. Believe if I were the homeowner, I would want a paved driveway in there. I will remind everybody that the commission denied this project way back when. It was approved only because the town submitted the order of conditions a day late. Now, we have an enforcement order that was issued by our agent, which the commission supported, and I still strongly support. The moving forward by paving this is certainly not, is prohibited by our bylaws, absent good cause shown. I personally see where there's no good cause shown at all. I have to say I would never support pavement. It's not fair to any other applicant that's come in front of this commission where we've denied pavement within 30, 40, 45 feet from a wetland. Literally the pavement is like within 2 feet of the wetland itself. So I think that I would personally not support it whatsoever. And I think we should, my personal opinion is to forget the total discussion on the pavement and move on to try and address Mr. Ivis's letter that was well put together and address that. And get back to the enforcement order and clean this up and move the rocks back and go from there. And I'll just leave it at that.
By the way, to the commission, I have no trouble with the pavement at all, not one bit. In fact, there is pavement. For example, 62 Whitehead, their driveway goes through a wetland. It's paved.
That's Steve, you're entitled to your opinion. I've been on
I'm
this
just giving you my opinion. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm paid for by the town, is to give you my professional opinion on these things.
Okay.
So if you don't want to take it, that's fine.
I
don't really care.
All right, gentlemen.
As a voting member, I do not support it, period.
I don't see that any problems will occur with paving this. I'd rather see it paved than stay gravel, frankly, because the gravel will continue to spread. The paving will not spread the gravel into the wetland. That's why I see the paving as a better solution for this particular spot. I'm not worried about water going into the pavement or off the pavement because it's next to a wetland. It's very, very good. It'll be canted to one side or the other. The water directly from the top of the pavement will go into the wetland. I don't see any problem with that. Those are my reasons for that.
Mhm. I'd like to circle back around to the boundary, Jeff. I think that Tom and Eric have both expressed concern over the limit, the what's considered the edge of the wetland. And it's really where the driveway currently exists, correct? Or where the gravel currently exists?
Yeah, the extent of the gravel, the bottom of the gravel.
And that was based on the flagging that had been done.
Exactly, yep.
Okay. So Tom and Eric, I know you both expressed concern that it's not accurate. And I just want you both to weigh in a little bit on, I mean, Jeff saying this was flagged, it's saying that this is accurately the edge of the wetland. And I just want to see if there's you either have any other comments on this.
I think, Chris, we have some controversial facts here, possibly, our allegations. We have this 12-foot wide that goes back into history. We've measured that. We have the figure of 10 feet that's being thrown up. We have other lines that are put in front of us. I don't know where those lines come from, Chris. It's a bit bewildering to try and figure out, from my point of view, where those lines are in relation to the 12 and the 10 feet and the riprap wall on the side and all that. All I know is that, our obligation here is to make sure there's no unauthorized movement of any material into the wetlands, all right? And I find here, that's definitely taking place. That would be my position right now. And it's hard for me to say, having been there and walked around and seeing the gravel, which has worked its way down the bank into the wetlands that we have right now, the stone that's there, that the integrity of the wetlands have been honored in the course of this project so far. And I have no reason to believe it's going to be honored in the future.
Steve, you're fairly confident that the flagging is an accurate representation of the edge of the wetland. Is that correct?
Absolutely. As a professional wetland scientist, yes, I am very confident in the flag.
And I would like to second that as someone who's been involved in the project, and I saw it back in 2016. I've seen it currently.
Yeah, and I don't see anywhere where there has been additional gravel past the wetland flags. I don't believe I saw one location on that site the entire morning we were there, where gravel has gone outside the boundary of the wetland flags.
Steve, with the exception of the rocks that you noted that were thrown over.
Exactly, that's correct.
Which, regardless of if the paved driveway is approved or not, we're certainly agreeable to remove those.
Sure.
I'm just uncomfortable with the fact that this thing pinches and swells. It's clearly over all that time. No doubt there were episodes of replenishment of that gravel as it was eroded into the wetland, and it just seems like there's an opportunity here to at least make this a uniform crossing of the wetland instead of something that again pinches and swells. Well, I don't have a strong feeling about paved or non-paved. It just seems to me that this should be a uniform construction.
So the reason it gets wider is, I don't know if the traveled area necessarily gets wider or not, but it's the limit of fill. This was built prior to the Wetlands Protection Act, and in areas where the fill is higher, it takes more room to grade out. So that's why you get to a pinch point up or a narrower section through here. I believe the existing grade is higher, so they didn't have to fill and taper out down, as opposed in this area where you have a 12-inch culvert and you probably have a few inches of material on top of that. You probably have 2 feet of height to grade out, and that's why it took more room. It doesn't mean the driveway is wider through here. It just means there's more fill.
And to add to that, the fill may be of different qualities as well. So you may get good fill in the pinch points, and you may have less good fill, which means less stable fill in the wider areas. If this was done by farmers, then this is what you might get.
And, you know, I think if the concern here is about this being widened in the future, that is why we have the conservation posts every 40 feet, which is a pretty regular distance. I mean, we could increase that, say, to 30 feet. You talk about putting boulders at the toe of the slope, although I think we discussed that back in 2016, and the commission did not want that. But
I would not want to see that because that just takes up more space in the wetland itself, frankly.
Not necessarily. Depends on how they're set and what shape they are.
True, true.
If they lay down some uniform stone, I wouldn't call them boulders, but uniform stone, this could be substantially improved, I think. There might be a lot of advantages to that in terms of how much, whether it's gravel or pavement, how much of anything escapes into the wetland. And I think the attempt here to stabilize this has a lot of merit, but I'm not convinced that putting some 2 to 4 inch stone here at a 45-degree angle is actually going to do that. What happens when somebody plows this road during the winter? It's almost inevitable that if it's continues to be a gravel driveway, that there's going to be an issue every year with additional material getting shoved into the wetland. Nobody's going to go down there and scrape that back on. They're just going to lay down some more gravel. So I think it would be best to look at a solution that has some longevity, let's say, without replenishment. So I would lean with Steve's idea, even though it is maybe in violation or on the edge of violation of our wetlands bylaws. The idea that we're going to have a gravel driveway there for a long time right through the wetland just seems like it's going to be a problem for a long time, both for the homeowner and for the resource.
And I would like to, second Tom's idea about stones on the bottom of the at the toe of slope.
You can pull that into, if you had 1 foot wide stones, you can go from your 16 feet probably closer to 14 feet.
Agreed. Yes, 1 foot wide stones might do it.
Might even look better too. You've got a nice uniform thing with some heavy stones and more stable, assuming they don't sink into what was once a wetland. That's an issue too.
Yes, it is.
You're laying a driveway here, not necessarily the driveway because it's been there a long time, but if you're going to put that sloped stability berm on there, it in some places that very well may disappear into the wetland. So
you may need 2 courses actually in some locations.
You might.
so
That'd probably be advisable, wouldn't you think, Steve?
Sorry?
Wouldn't you think that'd be advisable then to lay down 2 courses?
I would love to see it. I think that would make a very good, it'd also be very aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, and perhaps improve the crossing.
Yes.
2 crossings there, get rid of those PVC pipes and put a proper wetland crossing there.
Yes, a bottomless culvert, a square bottomless culvert, for example, something like that. Yep.
Stone would be your friend in a situation like this, I would think.
That's
both
right.
Aesthetically and for durability.
Mm-hmm. Agreed entirely.
If that's what the rest of the commission favors, and I want to talk to Mr. Wan about it.
I agree.
I don't know. We're essentially talking about building a retaining wall down the sides of the entire driveway. I don't know. It seems like a lot of unnecessary disturbance, in my opinion.
I personally agree with what Steve Ibis is saying. What he said is very important, I think. Gravel way will always erode. No matter what you do, we got to do something there. And, enforcing it with Tom's idea and Steve's idea, I think, and I am more than willing to take that culvert out and then put it whatever Conservation Commission thinks that is better. It's no problem for me. Let's get it fixed once and for all. so that we won't have to worry about this anymore.
And it would look good as well. So there you go.
Thank you.
Kathy or Trish, do you have any comments to add?
You know, I guess my only comment, for fear of, I'm not trying to agitate anyone, but I think my question is, Mr. Ivins, is it that as the bylaw as it's written, is it just that you feel like that are you questioning the bylaw itself or the intent of the bylaw? Because it sounds to me like, as I'm reading the bylaw as written, that's where I'm getting stuck here. It sounds like you guys have great solutions, but I'm looking at how the bylaw is written.
You can certainly overrule the bylaw with cause, as was read to us. And this would be the cause. The cause would be to create, excuse me, a stabilized surface at this location that would not result in any more addition to the wetland itself of gravel from the surface of that that way that's currently just gravel. So that would be the cause with which to address the bylaw itself.
Properly built, you wouldn't necessarily have to put pavement. You could certainly build that stabilization wall so that the gravel could not spill over.
I think we have to look outside of the whole gravel issue. Gravel, while a pavement may control gravel from being introduced into the wetland, you also have to look at other toxic pollutants that that asphalt will, as a result of installing asphalt, contributes into the wetland. Petroleum hydrocarbons, antifreeze, leaking oil, you know, all of those types of materials will have the potential of being introduced into the wetland. And we're not talking about a wetland that's 15, 20, 30 feet away. It's literally 2 feet away from the edge of the pavement. So this is not something pavement that I support whatsoever. And I think we have to look at the environmental concerns, not the physical. We're looking at the comments that have been made, in my view, are trying to control the physicalness of the gravel from entering the wetland. And we need to look at the environmental impacts of installing the asphalt here into the wetland. And that is a concern. That's why it's specifically prohibited in our bylaws. Section 36 prohibits pavement within the buffer zone, never mind within 2 feet of the actual wetland area. And this project, in my view, should never go forward with pavement.
Well, conversely, the pavement will prevent oil and antifreeze from going directly into the groundwater adjacent to the wetland. So, you know, you can play it both ways with pavement. I would rather see the pavement still.
Absent pavement, I still think stabilizing the sides of this driveway to a uniform width with stone is a better solution than putting just more gravel on the edges or 2 to 4 inch stone.
Agreed entirely.
Other options that can be explored beyond gravel and pavement.
My
Clearly.
concern is just stabilizing the edges of this thing. And if this is stabilized with stone and it's still a gravel driveway, then if I'm not mistaken, Jay, that would bring it into compliance.
Bring it into compliance with what? I'm sorry.
If you were to lay down cut stone, say 1 foot wide cut stone wall, essentially a retaining wall. We can't call it anything else other than kind of confining retaining walls. You could keep your gravel level below the lip of that wall and not put in pavement, but still be in compliance with the bylaw. Is that accurate?
Well, I'm not going to design a project for the engineer here. That's the engineer's responsibility to design a project.
There was a question about what other options can we have. pervious pavers on top of the entire thing.
I think that's what I was trying to get to. I probably shouldn't have phrased it quite that way, but there are other options beyond
Oh, yeah,
those two.
sure.
Yeah.
Pervious pavers, you know, I mean, you could use the concrete. There are systems of plastic and concrete that you can put gravel into that we are doing a project in Milton where we are going to use micro clover in between these pervious pavers for a patio application. I'm not sure how heavy of a load it will take, but they're using concrete blocks that are open to fill with soil and gravel. And again, plant this micro clover, which I'm trying on my lawn these days. Seems to be growing very well. Doesn't need to be mowed, only grows to about 3 to 4 inches high. Adds nitrogen to the soil. I think it's a wonderful thing.
That's very good, Steve. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I don't think it's our job to do the engineering solution for the proposal here. Lots of great ideas from the conservation agent and all that. As far as I'm concerned, it's all rather fatuous. I would like to have a firm proposal in front of me before we go and waste our time discussing all these different options. It's up to the proponents. He's the one that has to put something in front of us. We're sitting here trying to design his project for him, and that's not our role. So
Well,
I personally, let me just finish. I personally am going to log out of this discussion. And when it's time to vote, I'll vote if that's what we're going to do. But I'm certainly not going to partake in any doing of it, the engineer's job for a project that is controversial. He's got to come forward to us with what his proposal is, not us think of something and do his engineering for him. That's the way the game is played.
Yeah, we're certainly not asking the commission to do any engineering for us. We've put a proposal in front of you for discussion showing a paved driveway. And if the commission is not in favor of a paved driveway, then we'll go back to the drawing board. And I appreciate all the comments. It gives us some direction where to go. And,
we're on the micro clover now. I don't know how the hell we got on the micro clover is beyond me. This is so far-fetched.
It's not far-fetched at all. We're actually using that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Agent, we're wasting our time. Our job is to comment on the proposal in front of us. All right, and we've done that. And let's get on with life. We got a big agenda tonight. I don't want to sit here and re-engineer this project.
All right, I think the discussion was positive. I think there were a lot of concerns were raised that the engineer can take back. I think it's fair to say that there were enough concerns that the current proposal is not, by the way it's currently drawn, would not be approved. So Jeff, I guess the next step would be to take that information and then actually apply for an NOI.
Okay, great. And again, I appreciate all the feedback this evening. Mr. Wan and I will regroup and get an NOI in front of you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Our next hearing this evening on the agenda for 6:50 is an NOI 20-08 Lot 1 Black Horse Lane, which has been continued from the 1st of July, 2021. I know Jeff is going to remain on. David Wan is going to leave us. I believe Sean Pavich is going to be joining us, Megan, and I'm not sure if anyone else, Jeff.
Yes, Laura from Sean Pavich's office is on the call. Sean had another commitment, unfortunately, this evening. I can't tell if the applicants are on. They are Tom and Julia Powers.
I see Tom Powers up there, yes.
Okay, and the architect is Sally Weston.
Okay. Megan, could you bring Tom Powers up, please, also? There you
Yep,
go.
I believe I've got everyone.
Yes, you do. Thank you.
All right, so I'll dive right in. Jeff asked it again. So this is another property that was previously approved for a new house. It's currently a vacant lot, primarily developed as a lawn. And we submitted a modification on behalf of the new property owners showing the revised house footprint that they would like to build. At the last meeting 2 weeks ago, it was presented to you by Greg Morse from my office. And we continued it in order to provide you some additional information on the site plan, as well as other documents. So since 2 weeks ago, we submitted the plan that we have in front of you. And let's see, we added additional detail with respect to the material, grading, and so to give you a little more info. You know, the previous plan just showed the old approved plan with a new footprint overlaid on it. It is a little difficult to read, I admit, the contour spot shots along the patio, but essentially the patio will be a consistent elevation of 18, and the existing grade around it varies from elevation 16 to 12. So it's about a 2 to a 6 foot tall wall. And in order to accommodate the runoff from that, we are proposing a drain along the edge of the wall, the entire limit of the edge of the wall, which will be piped to a second dry well that we've added to the plan. The other stormwater controls included a roof dry well, which really has not changed. The location of the house is still the same general location as previously approved. The driveway is generally the same, and the limit of work is exactly the same. We also, Sean Papich's office also provided this color rendering, showing again the dashed line being the 50-foot buffer with no work beyond there. This is a large tree that was discussed that is adjacent to the swimming pool, which we are not proposing to remove, and the property owner understands that that tree is in a protected area. We also provided this cross section. This would be the house here with a patio to a pool, and then the second retaining wall here that varies in height. The top wall is consistently elevation 18, but it varies in height due to the existing ground altering. We submitted a construction sequence by Sean Papich, and also an updated landscaping plan. So with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Jeff, could you just tell what I could see that it was a cast in place wall, but it had a veneer on it. What was the veneer? Is that a veneer I'm seeing?
This is Lotta Ajamian from Sean Papich's office at 222 North Street in Hingham. And that would be a stone veneer on top of the concrete retaining wall on the face of the wall.
Okay.
Jeff, I had a couple of suggestions for the construction sequence. I think that the on-site meeting should be, the meeting, pre-construction meeting should be on-site with the contractor. I'm not sure if the contractor was noted. If you could get to that construction sequence, the next one down, please. We can take a look at that.
So that would be note number 2. We can add
yeah, project. It says project team. Yeah, just include contractor, please, at site. And then down a little further, I think erosion control, silt sock, and we can certainly inspect the erosion control silt sock at the pre-construction meeting. Okay, and then down a little further, it says number 18, removal of erosion sock. I think that should happen after the looming and seeding of fine grading of the site, after it's stabilized, after the site is stabilized.
Sure.
It shouldn't happen, directly after looming and fine grading. Okay. So removal of erosion control / silt sock after site stabilization. Or after site stabilization and review by conservation agent. How's that? That would make more sense, wouldn't it?
Perfect. We will revise that accordingly.
Sure. Yep. And then I'd like to get to the tree. This owner understands the tree, but this project is a really good example of a flipper. The next project owner or next property owner may not know the tree, may not want the tree there. So I think there should be an order that says if the tree disappears within the order of conditions, there should be a fine. And, you know, I would take anybody's suggestion regarding fines. I'm looking into the future, folks, for you.
Well, I think we'd have to discuss that with council. They seem to have very strong opinion on fines, so. We certainly could add it. We just have to speak with council.
Sure. We don't have any problem doing that in other towns.
Yep.
Just FYI.
Okay.
Chris, could you put the drawing back up so we can see the position of this tree, please?
Yeah, this tree here.
And that's actually a satellite imagery, so it's fairly accurate as to the size of the canopy.
Exactly.
And so
Here it's shown in survey view.
Yeah, the
Can you go
survey
back to
view.
the other one, Jeff, please?
Yeah, the survey view does not capture the extent of the drip line of that tree.
Sure.
This does.
I personally don't have a problem, you know, I appreciate your comment there, Steve, and agree with it. However, I don't know if that's something that we would typically, I think town council might take issue with something like that if we were to move forward and make those conditions part of the order of conditions. I think it's safe to say that our bylaws prohibit any work in the 50-foot buffer zone without a permit. We've already talked about this project several years back where we have denied all of the work in the 50-foot buffer zone next to Supper Island here. So in the event that any trees were taken down, the commission has the authority to immediately issue a $300 per day fine upon the applicant. So while I can appreciate that we would put it in an order, it certainly would strengthen it. The commission, I just remind everyone that we already have that authority to issue fine on the spot.
I would be happy to discuss it with the town council if you'd like me to do that.
Jay, we've early on in my years on the commission, we went through this project and we inventoried all the trees in the 50-foot area. At the time, there was a proposal to cut about half of them down. We fought tooth and nail against all those removals, and we kept all the trees there and probably fought to keep this tree there. Yep. I don't understand now why we are backing down and acquiescing to allow this lovely tree in the 50-foot buffer zone to be taken out.
We're not proposing to take this tree down.
No, not at all.
This tree is proposed to remain.
If it does get taken out, that's the point, Eric. That's the point. If this property gets flipped like it did already, the next owner has no vested interest in that tree. That's all. That's my point.
It's our responsibility here in the 50-foot buffer zone to make sure that that tree stays, come what the ownership of the property, yep. as it has right now. Conservation agent. It's changed hands or it's changing hands. And we're defending the trees as we have for the past 4 years in that property.
And yes, you have defended them in the past. I'm defending them in the future.
Commissioners, any other questions about this?
No.
I see nothing in the chat, so Without any other questions or concerns, I'd entertain a motion.
Jay Pimpar, I make a motion to issue a variance for work within the 50-foot buffer zone for the project at Lot 1 Black Horse Lane, the amended, and I'll save some special conditions for the order of conditions itself. This is just for the variance.
Wait, why is there a variance, Jay?
Oh, right. Yeah, we don't need a variance here, do we? There's no work in the 50. All right, strike that. I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions for an amended order of conditions for Lot 1 Black Horse Lane with the special condition, a revision to the construction sequence plan be noted to reflect our agent's comments. And I was starting to jot them down. Steve, would you mind jumping in there if you remember that construction?
Well, I would like to jump in and say first, you have to decide that it's a non-substantive change. That's the way it should go legally. So you have to take a vote to either agree or not agree that it's a non-substantive change that the amendment request is requesting. And then we can get on to the real facts.
I will make a motion that this is a substantial change.
No, it's not a substantial change. It's a it's in order for there to be an amendment to the existing order, it has to be a non-substantive change.
I'll make a motion that this is a non-substantial change to the amended order of conditions, the original order of conditions.
I'll second that.
Okay, having heard a motion in a second that this is a non-substantive change and therefore can be an amended order of conditions, I'll take a roll call vote. Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Eric Eisenhower,
Eric Eisner, aye.
Trish Grady,
Grady, aye.
Jay Pampari,
Jay Pimpari, aye.
Chris McFarland, aye. That vote passes 5-0-0.
Then, Mr. Chairman, you take a motion for the plan that you have in front of you
Okay,
with any orders of conditions.
Jay Pimpar, make a motion to approve the plan that is in front of us here as part of the an amendment to the order of conditions to reflect with special conditions mentioned by our agent with respect to the construction sequence be revised. Steve, do you remember I didn't write them all the numbers down here. Do you remember the number of sequencing that you could revisit for us, please?
Yes, there was, I made an addition to, I believe it was sequence number 2. We add the contractor after inspection by the conservation agent. And then also we added at number 18, after inspection by the conservation agent. And that was after stabilization of the lawn itself. Thank you.
Steve, on number 2, you also specified that the pre-construction meeting be on site.
That's correct. Thank you very much for reminding me. Yes.
Thank you. So the motion should include the comments made by our agent. Thank you.
having heard a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Having heard a motion in a second to accept the plan before us with the orders of conditions so noted, take a roll call vote. Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Eric Eisenhower,
Eric Eisner, aye.
Trish Grady,
Trish Grady, aye.
Jay Pampari,
Jay Pampari, aye.
and Chris McFarland, aye. That vote passes 5-0-0. Thank you very much.
Chris, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
I have a very unstable internet here and I'm kind of cruising in and out of being part of the discussion. If I cruise out and miss some valuable discussion, what would you like me to recuse myself when it comes to the vote? Because I will have missed some of the discourse.
Eric, the first thing I might ask you to do is to turn off your video. That, as much as we like to see you, it does take up a lot of bandwidth, so you might find yourself with a lot
Okay.
better. But if you do get lost, just let us know, and hopefully we'll be able to bring you up to date rather than confuse you.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Our
Eric,
next
you could
hearing
always
this
call in on a hard line as well.
Okay.
Our next hearing this evening, which was scheduled for 7:05 on the agenda, is NOI 21-06 and stormwater permit 21-07 for 1 Pleasant Street. This project had been continued from the 1st of July 2021. Megan, Jeff is, oops, hold on a second. Jeff?
Chris, I'm just formally recusing myself from this one again.
Okay. Jeff is staying with us. Megan, Laura is Laura involved with this?
No, she isn't.
Okay. Is anyone else in the attendees?
I think that's it. I was looking for Amy Martin. I don't see her. And so I think it's just myself on this one.
Okay, very good then. Again, Jeff, we're going to just note that I don't believe that we saw any updated plans, or I actually think it was some correspondence that had gone back and forth that we had asked to see, and I don't think we've seen any of it posted to the OneDrive. So possibly, just move slowly so we have a chance to absorb what we haven't seen yet.
Okay, will do. So this is another project that was continued from 2 weeks ago that Greg Morse presented. My understanding is that it was continued for 3 different items. One, to confirm that the planning board had approved it and issued their decision, which they have indeed. Secondly, in order to confirm that the wetland peer review was done, that was completed. It's dated April 21st. And I have an email from Jen Oram that it was loaded to the OneDrive for the April 22nd hearing. So that's where you'll find it. It concludes, though, that they are in agreement with the wetland line. And then thirdly, Amy Martin, the landscape architect, met with Steve Ibis and submitted a revised plan. It is still the same planting layout, but they substituted plants that were not native.
Actually, plants that were native were substituted for non-native plants. It's the other way around, Jeff. No offense.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So Jeff, before you go on, I thought there was, and maybe I just zoned out there, but I thought there was some, there were some telephone calls between the DPW and who was it, Jay, the owner, or was it with you, Jeff, to verify the connection to the storm system?
So this project had been fully reviewed and approved by Weston and Sampson on behalf of the town. Then when the DPW issued a letter where they were requesting some changes. Right. And essentially what we did is we added a second recharge system so that all runoff from the parking lot, we're attempting to recharge it on site before it would overflow to the culvert. The original design complied with the stormwater management regulations. It was a reduction in runoff, but this was kind of an above and beyond thing. So we addressed we made all of those revisions. We submitted it. We followed up with emails to the DPW engineering department multiple times, never got a response. We told the planning board that, and they ultimately determined it was adequate, and they approved it and issued their decision. So those were comments issued to the planning board.
Okay.
My comments at the last hearing were reviewing the DPW comments, specifically that there should be no direct contribution into the James Brook culvert. So that was my comment. I wanted to see those addressed. Jeff, I can, it sounds like you tried to reach out to DPW or someone within the town and didn't get a response back. Again, that's unfortunate. But I just would like to see that the town is okay with the direct introduction into the James Brook culvert from the parking lot here. That's all. Again, when the DPW, someone from the town says that it should be prohibited, and I just want to make sure that it's documented that the town is okay with that, 4, 5, 6 months later.
So we have addressed that. Their comment was there should not be a direct connection into the James Brook culvert, which currently there is. Currently the parking lot has catch basins and they tie directly into that culvert, which is what we were originally proposing to do. To address that comment, we've now added a subsurface infiltration system here. And the catch basins go to a manhole, to a particle separator, to that infiltration device, and then with an overflow to the culvert. And my understanding is that they are satisfied with this. Otherwise, the planning board, who had the same concern, would not have approved it.
And what was the was that a 2 or a 5 or 10 year storm when this actually overflow?
I think it's even a 2-year storm.
Yeah, I seem to remember it was a 2-year storm where there would be an overflow, which is probably happened twice this week.
Yeah, but the planning board had the same concern, and they weren't going to approve it until DPW, we addressed DPW's concerns.
So your sense is that this is not a direct discharge, given that there is filtration and chambers, etc., and would only overflow on a 2-year storm. Therefore, it's not a direct discharge.
Correct. And to add to that, currently there is a direct discharge, so we're improving that.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Jeff, is there a does this site plan meet the parking requirements, or was there a variance issued for this project?
No, there were not. We did not require a variance for parking.
So this has the required number per the code.
It does, yes. I'll bring up the parking table.
No, that's fine.
That's something I reviewed for the planning board hearing, but I have not looked at in a little while.
That's fine.
So yeah, required. We only actually require 14 parking spaces, and we're providing 30.
Strange. This is because it's a downtown business district. Is that why there's no parking required for the offices?
Yeah, per section 7.1.K,
Yeah.
0 spaces are required for the office. For the business portion of the building, we only have to provide the parking for the residential portion.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So Jay, are you satisfied with the?
Yeah, I'm okay with Jeff's response to the direct discharge. I just wanted to see where other parts of town make the comments that they're properly addressed, and I would agree that the planning board would not have approved the project had there be a discrepancy with the DPW comments. Just would have liked to seen DPW address it formally, but yep. I think that again the planning board has approved it, and I'm okay with the response.
Okay. Any other commissioners or attendees who have comments on this project? Steve, did you have any other additional comments?
I do not.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, just for Jeff Hassett, can you just talk about the 50-foot buffer line there and where that plays into this, how it plays into it existing now?
Sure. So this is the existing conditions plan, and the wetland is located off-site with a 50-foot buffer just just barely touching the corner of the property, this being the 100-foot buffer. And then on the proposed plan, you can see that we're keeping the parking lot and all the associated work outside of that 50-foot buffer. So there's no work within the 50-foot buffer.
Well, just there's removal, right? Removal of that little corner.
That is actually the building envelope line.
Oh, okay.
Is that all, currently it's all grass?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all grass and it's going to stay grass?
Correct.
So there's no proposal there to extend the pavement into the 50-foot buffer?
That is correct.
The pavement stays out of the 50-foot buffer?
Yep, the pavement is outside of the 50-foot buffer, and we do have a note on the 50-foot buffer line saying no vegetation to be removed within the 50-foot setback.
Okay.
So.
All right. If there's no additional comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Jay Papara, make a motion to issue an order of conditions for the project at
Somebody had a hand raised. I don't know if you want me to promote them to panelists
on.
real quick, or if they should just put it in the chat.
Well, they should have put it in the chat, but let's take a look real fast.
I think that might be, is that Jason Federico from DPW?
I'm gonna guess yes.
If you could
Oh,
promote Jason, that would be great.
Yep. They should be all set.
Yes, I can say that, yes, Jeff's thing did address the comments that we had. But the other big piece is to make sure that the stormwater maintenance plan is done on this site, as they're using permeable pavement to achieve their runoff reduction. If that's not vacuumed as needed and cleaned as needed, it'll just become a sheet runoff into James Brook and therefore be a potential issue. So that was our biggest comment too on the stormwater maintenance portion of it as well. But the other comments were all addressed.
Jason, would you suggest that some condition be placed on this project, that reporting for inspection of the pervious pavement be done? Does that make sense?
Technically, everyone is supposed to be, but I don't think many people do.
Well, if we put it as a condition, if we put it as a special condition, it might get done, a little bit better. I'm just suggesting.
That's fine.
Steve, if I'm not mistaken, I think it is in the order of it's in the boilerplate for the order of conditions. If I'm not mistaken, at least that's what Jeff had told us, that a log has to be kept and the inspections have to be done semi-annually, I believe. But we should verify that for sure.
Yeah, as part of my stormwater package, I included a long-term operation and maintenance plan.
Yes.
And that's for everything: the catch basins, the parking lot, the vegetation, you name it. And it goes through each item, what should be done, at what frequency, and then there's a checklist that goes with that should be it should be inspected by the property owner. So they are obligated to do that as part of the ongoing conditions. But to add a condition to kind of reinforce it, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, it's just never done by anybody. That's the problem these days. And this particular one is quite sensitive because if you don't properly clean it out, you'll just get runoff directly off to the grass or wherever it goes.
Well, I think that I agree, and it's a, while it may not need to be a specific condition of the permit, of the approval, if it were to be approved, it should be. It's very clear that the long-term operation and maintenance plan should be adhered to. So it's certainly moving forward in the years to come, a responsibility, hopefully, of the town to oversee that, as well as the applicant to self-report, etc. So something to keep in mind as we move forward on the project after construction.
Yeah, I would strongly suggest it be placed as a condition, because Frankly, when was the last time anybody from the town hall looked at any O&M plans, ever? I'll
That's
ask you
part
that
of when Jeff was here, one of the things we were going to try and implement before he left was a layer in the GIS of all the systems that need to be operation and maintained. It just never happened. I get 10 million things on my plate, and that's
my
not
point.
a top one.
Thank you for illustrating my point, Jason.
Jason, are there any concerns about the proximity to the Elms Meadow well field here?
Yeah, that was one of my comments is any of that groundwater infiltration could be a potential contamination source, but I mean, there's no way around it.
Just for my information, do you know how at what depth are those screened?
What did you say?
How deep are those wells screened at?
They're 30 feet deep at max. I think they're 5 foot. They're probably 25 to 35 feet screens.
Wow, so they're pretty close to surface. So anything that's happening in the neighborhood could impact our water supply. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's in a very small fracture there too. It's a very small aquifer as well.
Okay. I see no further comments or questions. I'd like to entertain a motion.
J. Pimparo, make a motion to issue an order of conditions for the project at 1 Pleasant Street with a specific condition that the long-term operation and maintenance plan be adhered to throughout the construction and after construction of the project.
Here, a second.
Berrigan, second.
We heard a motion second to issue an order of conditions for 1 Pleasant Street. I'll take a roll call vote. Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Eric Eisenhower. We might have lost Eric. Tricia's recused herself. J. Pimpari
J. Pimpari, aye.
and Chris McFarland, aye. That Eric, would you like to vote on that?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, aye.
Aye. Okay, that vote passes 4-0-1.
J. Pimparo, make a motion to issue a stormwater permit for 1 Pleasant Street.
I have a second.
Aye.
No, I need a second.
Second.
Having heard a motion is second to issue a stormwater permit for 1 Pleasant Street, we'll do a roll call vote. Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Eric Eisenhower,
Eric Eisenhower, aye.
Jay Pimpari. Jay, you're muted.
J. Pimpari, aye.
Chris McFarland, aye. That vote passes 4-0-1. Thank you. Our next hearing this evening, which is a stormwater permit for 32 Windy Hill, continued from 6/17/2021. Jeff Hassett's going to remain. Megan, I do not see anyone else. Kathy Berrigan, yes?
Yes, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself from this hearing, okay?
Okay, and I'm going to stay on the hearing to provide the quorum which is necessary, but I will not comment or vote. So I'm going to ask Jay to run the meeting, please.
Thank you. Okay, this is a continuance, 32 Windy Hill Road. From a few weeks ago, we had requested some additional documentation. I just want to procedurally talk about this as far as the quorum goes. We have 4 voting members left. Kathy Berrigan has recused herself. I understand Mr. McFarland is going to abstain from any vote, but he is on a voting member for quorum purposes only. Therefore, in order for this project to be approved, it would need 3 votes of approval from the 3 remaining voting members. Anything outside of an approval or a yay, if any voting were to occur, the project would not move forward. So I just want to make that clear for everyone here. Now we're down to basically 3 members who would be discussing this matter. So Jeff Hassett, I'll turn it over to you if you wouldn't mind bringing us up to date here.
Okay, thank you very much, Jay. So to get you up to date, we submitted a letter and a revised plan on July 7th, as well as updated stormwater calculations. The 4 changes that we made, I will read through them quickly and then I'll show them to you on the plan. We scaled back the limit of work to the extent that the planning board approved through the large home review process. And to summarize that, there are no further trees to be cleared on the property, regardless of the size. We eliminated the overflow pipe and instead added an overflow grate. So when the dry well overflows, it will bubble out as opposed to having a direct pipe outlet. We made the level spreader along the property line twice as long, and we were specifying check dams in the trench alongside the driveway at 20-foot spacing. So originally we were proposing to remove some of the wooded area through here as well as through here. We tightened up the limit of work by moving the pool a little bit closer to the house and putting a boulder wall adjacent to that pool. So this here is the existing tree line where the erosion barrier will now be installed, and there will be no work beyond that point. Previously, we had an overflow pipe from this system going to the property line. It will now, when it does overflow during the larger storm events, it will bubble out of the dry well within the lawn on the subject property. This is a level spreader that has been lengthened to 50 feet from 25. And the way the stone trench works along the driveway is that, I think we specify 2 feet wide, 2 feet wide by 1.5 feet deep. And because it's on a hill, we have check dams every 20 feet. It's a rubber barrier within that stone trench. So basically the driveway pitches towards it, the water fills up one compartment, and then it has to overflow and fill up and overflow. So it significantly delays that peak rate. So the water reaches to the road later and you get less water hitting at the same time. I'd like to note that stone trench runs from here to here. And we only added that following the first hearing at your request. It's an existing driveway. They are going to resurface it so they can take that opportunity to add this stone trench. But it's a stone trench along an existing driveway, and our calculations do not rely on it. It's above and beyond. All the runoff from this portion of the driveway, which is for the most part, which is most of the new portion of the driveway, goes to a stone trench that has a pipe in it as well, and also a drain across the driveway, directing it into this underground infiltration system. And these chambers are a little bit bigger than the ones we normally specify too. They're 20.5 inches tall as opposed to the 16-inch tall ones we normally use. So I think the other concern was whether runoff from this property is going to impact this down gradient house. Both lots, it will not. Both lots have been designed assuming they will both be developed. So I'm going to show you. This is the approved plan for the front lot, and what it's showing is a swale here, which is a dashed line with the flow arrows directing the water around the house. Any water coming down this hill, which that is what it does now. This is the lot down gradient, and all the water from above up top comes down this way. So they designed that lot foreseeing the development of this lot, and then we have further designed it to improve it by reducing the rates and the volumes of runoff, and and then making sure that where we discharge the water isn't, you know, over here directly behind the house. It's more over in this area. So I am comfortable with it. I hope you are as well. And I will turn it over to the commission. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. With the, at last check, crunching the numbers here, I believe there was a reduction of 15% of stormwater coming off of the site. As a, was there a recalculation of the stormwater numbers at all, the recalculations? Did that change at all with this redesign, or what are the stormwater pre and post numbers now?
They're essentially the same. The only change to it was that we had a dry well located here where we're not allowed to work. So we're now just directing that water to this larger dry well system. But you know, that was just a very small dry well. It did not make much of a difference at all.
And what is the time frame the frequency with respect to the overflow? You mentioned there would still be an overflow through the chamber.
Yeah.
Out to the driveway area. What year storm would that actually overflow?
A 2-year storm. You know, just about every project they overtop in a 2-year storm. I want to say it's 3.5 inches in 24 hours. It's a lot of water.
Okay. So as pointed out, you have the proposed erosion barrier that's going in place, and complying with the planning board's decision or their approval, and taking those conditions and overlaying that onto this map. Now what you're telling us is that there's going to be no further disturbance of the vegetation, or I should say trees, that's there now. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep, all the work is within that lawn area that currently exists.
Okay. Steve, do you have any comments on this one?
Only that we did talk about heat trace tape in the stone trench. Did you happen to have a chance to take a look and look that up, Jeff?
Yeah, Greg and I talked about that at length. And, you know, we looked at the detail that you approved on another project recently.
Yes. Yes.
You know, that heat tape is just the tape that you typically wrap around a water service on a house that's elevated.
Right.
I don't see it making much of a difference here. If you want to condition it to require that, then we'll certainly install it, or we'll instruct the property owner to do so. But, you know, the stone trenches are 30 or 40% void. So you don't, I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not going to freeze up like loam because those voids will remain open.
Understood. Yes.
So I don't like the idea. I'll leave it up to you guys.
And the reason you don't like it is because there's just another piece of equipment to maintain. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, thanks for the discussion. Yes.
Comments from commissioners?
Jeff, Eric Eisenhower here. Could you very quickly just give a summary in terms of the volume of water on the...
I think you might have froze there, Eric. Jeff,
Eric, could you restate?
Eric, you here? Think we might have lost them, but what I caught out of that was Jeff, he was asking for the volumes of water potentially coming off of the property, or at least that's what I caught. I don't know if that was so much a question, but I think he was going down that road.
So the 210 and 100 whatever storms, Jeff?
Can you hear me now?
I'm just looking to dig that up. I had it with me earlier, and I can tell you on average it's a 15% reduction, but I'm trying to find those numbers.
Sure.
Eric, are you back?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Jeff, my question had to do with the driveway, and let me know if I break up or disappear. With the 2-year storm and the numbers you're talking about, how does the amount of water being carried down the driveway compare after construction with the trench to what we have right now
It's a 15% reduction.
for the total property? What about the driveway?
For the driveway, I did not analyze the driveway individually. But if you think about it, the existing driveway is just sheet flowing straight down the hill. It's a pretty steep driveway. It's going to get to the road immediately. In the proposed conditions, it's the same driveway, it's the same amount of water, but rather than running straight down the driveway, it'll be cross pitched. The majority of the water will go into the stone trench, and then,
Okay.
fill up each one of the chambers, overflow. Some of it will recharge, so you're getting less water and you're slowing that peak rate.
Okay, thank you, Jeff.
You're
That's
welcome.
fine.
Jeff, there's not a silt sock up there installed on the property now, is there? On the upper property?
They installed one on the lower property, and I believe that extended onto this property
Okay.
partially.
I know it's not, I have a comment on that silt sock with respect to the lower property. I know we're talking about the property up on higher, but it sounds like the silt sock's going to have to be moved for the property on the top. So I'll make my comment now. When that does occur, I believe that the silt sock was wrongly installed on the lower part of the property and that it needs to be moved over. Our agent, Jeff Summers, in the early springtime prior to the vegetation went out there and dropped white flags in the area on the bottom half of the property there where and then discussed that with the builder or whoever was doing some of the removal vegetation at the time. And that silt sock needs to be moved up further onto the property to reflect the conditions that are on the site plan. Are you aware of that at all?
It's the first I've heard of it, but it sounds like the property owner probably is aware. I'll shoot him an email after this hearing.
Okay. Again, if the silt sock's going to be moved up top, it should also be moved on the bottom property. And you'll see there are little white the white flags are only about 3 inches tall. Unfortunately, the grass is completely overgrown that.
Okay.
This time of year. Any comments from the audience? I don't see any questions in the Q&A or the chat box. I see raise a hand from Kathy Berrigan. Kathy, you're free to talk as a member of the public, having recused herself from this hearing. We'll entertain a public comment from Ms. Berrigan.
Kathy Berrigan, 646 Jerusalem Road. And I am wondering where the revised planting plan is on this site plan, since you're presenting the entire site plan. It was a plan that the planning board asked to have a tree buffer screening put in. And then your team did revise the plan and present it it was revised on April 20th, 21. So I didn't see it on this particular plan. I'm wondering if that stands and where that is, please.
I'll redirect that to Mr. Hassett. Is there a revised, here we go, is there this planting plan?
Yeah, you have this, it's been submitted, it's dated April 20th.
Okay.
Okay.
So
that will
yeah, 4/20.
Okay, so dated 4/20, does that reflect the existing current conditions now? And can you describe the pink area versus the green area on the map? And I think there's a question here regarding the pool area, et cetera, or the limit of disturbance.
Yeah, the only thing that changes on the planting plan is that these areas that we propose to remove vegetation are going to remain vegetated. And then there's one tree here that would not be planted because it would fall now in the woods.
Is that pink shaded area outlined on the plan or described in detail on the plan?
No, it isn't. We just added the shading to kind of clarify at previous hearings which areas the applicant would have liked to clear.
Okay, so this is really an updated plan, but it's dated April, but it said you've kind of did a little overlay on it.
No. So this plan was submitted back in April when the intent was to clear these two sections of woods.
Okay.
And we have not submitted a revised plan that based on this change. But what I'm saying is the only thing that would change is now these red areas will remain green as woods. And then you wouldn't be planting this tree in the woods. So we can make that revision and submit that. I would hope that would be something that could be conditioned and reviewed by Mr. Ivis.
Happy to do that.
I would go back to the actual site plan itself, whereby you're not proposing, the site plan is, I think, would kind of set
Go
the
with
precedent here.
stormwater, yes.
Yeah, this where you have the fine line in the sand here being the silt sock, and no further disturbance would kind of would certainly be more informational than the planting plan. While it would be great to have a revised planting plan, we're not asking for any plan. We're not asking for, in my view, more plants to be submitted, etc. This site plan is really what is the enforcement mechanism if we were to take any enforcement action in the future or have to enforce any further disturbance.
And in addition, this plan here that we're looking at would be the plan of record for the stormwater permit.
Right. Okay, does that answer your question, Ms. Berrigan?
So I understand the separation of the two plans according to what we're doing now, but that other plan, the planting plan, would stand as it is. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that what we're trying to get at here is this plan specifically states there's no further disturbance, and that the line where the silt sock is specifically is the line in the sand whereby there's no disturbance whatsoever. So as Steve mentioned, this is the plan of record, and this is the plan that everyone would be working off from day one when the silt sock would go in. And again, there would be no further disturbance. The planting plan would be for the installation of plantings, but there would be no further removal of any vegetation that's on the site now.
Okay, but the planting plan would stand as it is. And then the condition about not removing any other trees would be reflected on the stormwater plan.
Yeah, and I think it's reflected by the fact that there's the limit of work and the silt sock around that when there's no further disturbance.
I was really looking at the issue of the trees on the property, dividing the property line on the west side of the house, which is what the planning board asked them to put in, which they kindly put in as a barrier and a buffer. And I was just trying to see if that was going to be, that was staying.
Jeff, can I ask you a question on that as far as the pointing out the west side of the property, and if you're familiar with that?
Sure. So there's an opening between the two wooded areas. So this area is kind of a cluster of large evergreens, which will remain. Okay. This is wooded area to remain. And this is kind of an opening between those two areas where we are proposing to vegetate and create a buffer, create some screening.
So can you just go back to the site plan really quick? I may ask you to jump back and forth here for a minute.
So this area here is where we're adding screening.
Okay. Does that make sense, Kathy?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions from the audience? Not seeing any hand raised. Further comments from the commission? Ms. Berrigan.
Could I ask about the lighting plan that was an approved condition, order of condition from the planning board?
I think that Is there a specific question there? The only, the reason I'm asking that is I'm asking the question while I was privy to some of the planning board approvals. It was the, with respect to the lighting, I'm not sure how that overlays to the Conservation Commission stormwater permit bylaws. Well, I think we should just treat that separately and let the planning board enforce, if in fact they needed to enforce any lighting issues, because it would be difficult for the Concom to enforce lighting issues under our stormwater bylaws.
Thank you.
I think that there's certainly some improvement. I had comments from this has been a long process. I think this application was submitted earlier on in 2021. It was delayed a little bit. We've seen revisions to it now. My comments were, I wanted to make sure that the planning board approval, special conditions, etc., were incorporated and carried over into this plan. I feel that they have now. We have waited to see what the planning board, or I guess the applicant waited to find the final planning board approval and those conditions, and again has incorporated those into this plan here. There's a clear limit of work, a clear no disturbance zone. If in fact there were disturbance outside of this area, it would be a potentially enforceable issue. So we have that. This site plan is the plan of record. There's, as stated by the engineer, there's a 15% reduction in stormwater runoff from what's currently there now. Looks like they've increased the trench from 25 to 50 feet, removed one of the infiltration chambers, increased the other size there, and attempted to control the some of the stormwater coming off of the driveway. And again, I will say that there is an existing driveway that's there now. I know the driveway doesn't go all the way up to the property, but there is an existing driveway that services a home on the other side. So, you know, I think it's an improvement. I've had concerns with this project all along. I would have questions on still would have some questions. We won't know for a couple of years now to the stormwater running off of to the lower property, but I think the applicant has met the burden of proof here, in my view, on this property. Further comments from any commission members? Nothing from the public? Steve, any final comments at all?
No, I think you've summarized it very well.
All right, thank you. Having not heard any further comments, Jay Pimpari will make a motion to issue a stormwater permit for the project at 32 Windy Hill Road. Do I have a second?
Tricia Grady, second.
Having heard a motion in a second, we'll do this by alphabetical order. The four voting members: Eric Eisenhower. Eric, you're muted, Eric, sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Eric Eisner, aye.
Tricia Grady.
Tricia Grady, aye.
Chris McFarland.
McFarland abstain.
Jay Pimpari, aye. As that vote passes 3-0, 1 abstention, the project is approved by a majority vote. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Our next hearing this evening, I need to read into the record. It's for, in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Cohasset Wetland Bylaw and the Cohasset Stormwater Bylaw, the Cohasset Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, July 15th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via remote participation on a Zoom platform from the Town of Cohasset Town Manager for a request for determination of applicability 21-08 for water main replacement and upgrades on Elm Street. So Megan, I think Jason needs to be elevated on this. Jason, I'm not sure if conference room 2 or Anne Marie are also part of this hearing or not. You're muted, Jason.
I'm here.
Okay, are you here alone, or is either Anne Marie or conference room 2 supposed to be included here?
I'm here by myself as far as I know.
Okay. Well, very good then. So I'm hopeful you have a plan to share with us.
I do.
Because unfortunately, the commission has not seen one to date. So we need you to walk us through it and see what we have.
So we have a water main replacement here on Elm Street, Brook Street to which is by the police and fire station down to the Cohasset Harbor Inn site. The only place where we're within any the 50-foot or 100-foot is down by the Cohasset Harbor Inn. The whole area is within, all the work will happen within the paved surface. There's curbing all along the project. So any runoff would be contained within the paved surface. We're proposing to put silt socks in all the catch basins along the entire length of the project. And then as well, during the construction here, right near the brook, let me zoom in a little bit on this so you can see. We're tying into an existing valve in the street here. Well, Steve and I met out there. There's parking spaces all along here. Okay, go ahead. There's parking spaces all along here. So we're gonna just put the catch basins up while we're working in this area. Just to
catch
still allow.
basins, hay bales.
Sorry, hay bales. Yes, hay bales along the curb line there, just to remind the contractors that there's a resource area there. And that's it.
You might want to say a little bit about the staging area as well, Jason.
Oh, yeah, we're going to be using, we're going to be storing our pipe to begin with in the parking lot out behind 87 Elm Street. So we're proposing on putting in a mulch stock along the paved surface, along the edge of the paved surface to store our pipe back here. The contractor may end up using it for some soil storage too. We haven't yet got to that point in time. We don't have a contractor selected nor means and methods at this point in time. You can see here, this basically where we have this red line here is where we were proposing to put the catch basins during that day of construction.
Hay bales,
here along the edge of the parking spaces.
Right.
So Jason, this is a water main replacement?
Yes.
The reason for the hay bales, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
The reason for the hay bales during the one-day construction, it's easy to get in, the non-seated hay bales basically is what you want to do. Easy to get them in and get them out of the location and allow parking because that's a very busy parking spot for everybody in the town.
It's busy both pedestrian and parking too. So
yes, and
So Jason, will there be any, besides for the pipe, will there be any stockpiles of material, fill or
there may be. We haven't determined. We don't have a contractor yet. The bids are actually due next week.
Okay.
So we haven't yet determined exactly what the plan is for material storage, but we may have some daily fill for a scenario where when you're doing a water main project, you may need some sand If you dig up, as you're digging, you may end up some unsuitable material for backfill. So you'll take that, we take the unsuitable material water department site, but we may have some storage on here, or we may end up having all the storage at the water department and just bring the spoils to the water department and then bring the good material back. We haven't yet determined that with the contractor.
As a water commission member for nearly 35 years now, it's very, very important that bedding material be a good quality material. It's very, 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 very important. And Jason, I would imagine that your spec would say that any material piles will be ringed by mulch sock or something when they go, right?
And if it's within any kind of a resource area, yes.
Exactly. Yep.
Jason, can you show the site plan again? Again, I haven't seen any of this. I appreciate the red line there showing that. Is the silt sock outlined or on the plan, or are you not even showing that on the plan where the stockpiling may be?
No, because it wasn't part of the survey. We had just, reason why we even had to stockpile now is because of COVID. The pipe lead time was 3 months. So we had to order pipe ahead of time. And it's actually getting delivered this week. So I had to come up with a solution short term. So I reached out to the Cohasset Arbor Inn folks, and they were amenable to allow us to store some pipe out there at this point in time. That's all we're looking to put out there is the pipe. And it's on the paved surface. So it isn't even really a contamination source necessarily. We're just looking to put some pipe out there for the time being.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that at all. It just, you know, with a town project like to think, obviously it's on the up and up. I just don't want to get a call a month from now saying that this massive mound of dirt is flowing into the bottom of James Brook there, and you know, and who approved that? That's all. I
agree. I have no issue if we do put any soil back there, there will be containment for sure.
Jason, when you open the trench, you're of course going to encounter a lot of water. What's your plan to dispose of that water?
It'll be dewatered either through a silt sack or through some kind of a dewatering, like a hay baled area for settling, and then supernatant would come off the top.
And then that will discharge directly to a storm drain or James Brook?
Yeah,
is that
storm drain. But the storm drains have the filters in them as well.
And so those would then ultimately go into James Brook and into the harbor.
Or the harbor.
Yeah.
The majority of Elm Street actually goes straight to the harbor, not through James Brook.
I see. Now, do you have any estimate of the volume that you would expect to discharge?
We're hoping we're not going to run into a ton of water, to be honest with you.
It's been raining, and also you have a leaky water main. I would think that you're certainly going to find water there.
No, we have the water main's from 1910, so it's not necessarily leaking today, and we're hoping it's not going to be in. Can you stop? We're hoping it's not going to be a significant problem during the project. They've done repairs out there, and we haven't a significant amount of water, Tom. So we've had issues with breaks, and we haven't had a huge dewatering. So we're not expecting to see a significant amount of water in the trench.
Jason, hope's a wonderful thing, but I would hope that there would be a contingency plan for more water than you might expect.
And that contingency plan might include one of those dewatering tanks. What are they called, Jason?
Frac tank?
Yes, frac tank. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you might want to just note that in the contract documents if you haven't already. Yeah. Yeah.
Jason, is this part of a larger project to start replacing old mains throughout the town?
Yes, it is.
So Steve, is this a opportunity to have a
generic
generic
notice? Well, and we'll talk about this a little later, but I don't think so. And the reason is an RDA is much better for this because these mains are in a street. And in order to have a notice of intent, you have to tie it to a particular property. And I don't believe the streets have any deeds. We'll be talking about that later with regard to the harbor wall. The harbor wall doesn't have a deed because it's in the street layout.
Yeah.
It's better to have a permit with the RDA with conditions than it is to have a notice of intent. Again, because there's nothing to stick the notice of intent on
Right.
in the registry. That's the issue.
Yep. Okay.
Chris, do we need to have any like statements in terms of storage in the order of conditions, or does that just need to be added to the plan somewhere in terms of storing pipe and material or what have you in the back of the parking lot?
Well, we could, I mean, it should show on a plan for sure, even if it was diagrammatic. Was this image, Jason, submitted as part of the?
No, this, as I said, this happened literally half a week ago.
Right.
Getting the Cohasset Harbor people to agree to letting. I was on vacation in the meantime, so I submitted this, then went on vacation, and then found out I needed to get pipe delivered. So this came in the meantime as being an issue. So it's kind of a very sudden need that was unexpected, because I mean, realistically, we would just store the pipe in the triangle. But pipe in the triangle for 3 months, people would freak out, or even 2 months or a month.
Or 2 hours.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm sticking it back here just because I don't want to get 7,000 phone calls. And it was literally, like I said, at this point, I'm not even saying we're putting material. I want to just put pipe for the time being. And I just, that's kind of where I came at this from, was more pipe storage than anything else, but there may be some sand. And that's why we were saying to put just as a question during this process to say if we would be allowed to put something in there, we would appreciate it.
I would call it excavate, Jason, not sand,
Yeah.
just excavate, you know?
Yeah. No, but like I said, Steve, I may ship that stuff back to the plant and just have here their
Oh, the fill.
the fill.
Yeah, the
that's
backfill.
clean sand
Yep.
sand material for backfill.
Yep, bedding material, we call it.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
In
I
the water.
don't have a problem with it. I don't know how you condition the RDA for where we're stockpiling something off-site of what's on an approved plan. It's like, you know, approving something on a neighbor's property. But I don't have a problem with just hanging the pipe there. You know, you'd like to think there's nothing running off of the actual pipe. There's no silt, etc. Just a suggestion, Jason, you know, the hopefully at some point the old salt house project is completed. And as you know, there's stockpiling already across the way on the other side of the parking lot. And, you know, I don't know when that construction is going to happen. It doesn't sound like it's going to happen anytime soon with the harbor in itself, but that's also could potentially be an option. There's already a stockpile of material there. There's already a silt sock around it. I don't know when that material is going to be removed, but that could be another location that's already been approved by this commission.
Okay.
But we could use this sketch as a to reference the order of conditions.
Yeah, and this is, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Neither do
We'll
I.
put the full. We're proposing on putting the full 12-inch too, sock, not the smaller 6. We're going to put the good heavy duty mulch sock down.
Right.
Yeah, and you may want to just go around the corner a little bit on the what we see as the right-hand side. Yes, thank you. Yep. That's all.
Okay. I see no comments from the audience. Is any other commissioner have a comment?
No, my only comment is that, you know, Steve, this is an RDA. I assume this would be a -2 determination unless we had some specific conditions. I don't know that I don't have any special conditions on the project itself. I think, other than, I have not seen the actual application itself. I know Jason supplied it's like a GIS map with the silt sock that is overlaid onto the edge of the property. How would we, how would you recommend going about this? Would it just be a straight -2 determination, or would it be like a -3 with a condition that, you know, I don't know how you condition something on an adjoining property, or we just
No, but we do have the conditions that that all the storm inlets receive a filter fabric barrier, that if they have to dewater, that they need a
Rat
you
tank
know,
or
a tank or some sort of appropriate.
Yeah.
And then the hay bales are part of the condition too. So I think we still do need conditions. And if we can, I mean, the condition as far as, I mean, we could do it kind of broadly, that if the storage of any material, you know, might result in runoff towards a wetland area, that they have to put in a silt sock, and that would cover that. That we're not saying that he has permission to do it. We're just saying if he does it, they have to put a erosion control in.
And I would also add perhaps a condition that says heavy coordination with the conservation department in the town should be occurring while the project is going on. In fact, it would be really nice to have a pre-construction meeting talking to the contractor about what the contractor's means and methods would be. Does that make sense to you, Jason?
We already have a pre-construction meeting, and I can invite you to that, Steve.
Sure. Perfect. Perfect.
Jason, is there a timeline on actual shovels in the ground here?
No, other than the bids are due on the 20th. It'll take probably 14 days to get the paperwork, and then construction needs to be complete by December 1st.
Okay.
So sometime between now and December, it'll happen, depending upon the contractor's availability.
Sounds like there was some conditions that we would probably want to place, which I guess that would not make that a -2 determination. Steve, do you have specific conditions? If I were to make a motion, do you have specific conditions that you could place upon this, given the discussions you've had with Jason in our discussion tonight?
Well, you know, the one that was Chris noted, the storage of any materials that may result in any impact to the wetland resource are required to have a silt sock around the materials.
Okay.
Otherwise, just like I said, just a heavy coordination, you know, with inspections, I don't know, once every couple of weeks or something. I don't see a lot of inspections. You know, you hope the contractor and the town DPW will be looking at it, you know, almost on a daily basis, right, Jason?
Yeah, we'll have a construction inspector on site
Fine.
for the entire
Fine.
process.
Yep, good. So that's not necessary from our side, I don't think. Yeah, so I just put that condition on, that's all.
So would that make this a -3?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. -3 with conditions, it's called.
Right. Any further conditions? Anybody want or any further discussion before I make a motion?
Wasn't clear to me whether the condition of some sort of contingency for excess water was included as a condition. Chris,
Oh.
you mentioned it, Chris, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm recommending it as a condition. I'm recommending the filter fabric in all the manholes and the hay bales as being, all being conditioned. As well as the condition that any storage that may result in drainage into a resource area has to be contained.
And
Steve,
I
can-
might restate the water issue. Appropriate methods need to be taken for dewatering.
Steve, I can provide you with my spec section on my dewatering too. We have a whole
Sure.
section on.
I mean, really, the main issue is just to reduce those total suspended solids to down to meet the state DEP spec, which is what, 80%, something like that.
Yeah, 200 NTU is actually what the state standard is.
Yeah, okay.
Jason, what is the rationale for the actual upgrade of the water line here? And where is it going from downtown? Where is it actually? Where's point A and point B?
Point A is the end of, hold on. Point A is out by the police and fire station. There's a, that's where they most recently had done a project and ended. And point B is where they replaced to go under the James Brook culvert. So there's a new pipe under the culvert when they did the culvert project. And then next year, I believe, we're doing Summer Street. So we'll be going around the other side and going up Summer to South Main. So this is 1890s, we believe, circa pipe. So we've had a significant number of breaks in the previous few years out here. And it is in the paving plan. It was actually in the paving plan 2 years ago. It got pushed off and is now in the paving plan for next year.
And so again, it will continue right around Summer Street, right back up to the church.
Yeah.
And then next fiscal year.
Yeah. And then down Atlantic Ave the other way too.
Out by the Lobster Pound.
Oh, no, I mean, around my.
Oh, around Margin Street the other way.
Yeah.
How far will it go around by down Atlantic?
Not a long way. There's a lot of 1900 pipes around this town. So
Like
we're gonna,
with the goal would be to make it around to Beach Street.
I had to look at the map. To
Yeah.
I can't answer Atlantic Ave as easily as I can Summer. Summer is continuous. Atlantic Ave has some weird replacements over time.
Yeah, I just saw like Atlantic going over to Beach Street. There's a lot of wetlands over there. That's what I was just getting at.
Oh yeah. Well, that one is that one's going to be a tougher one for sure.
Okay.
Starting with Treats Pond.
Yeah.
Okay. There's no additional comments. Entertain a motion.
JP probably make a motion to issue a -3 determination on the RDA for the Elm Street main water replacement with a couple of specific conditions, and I'll ask for some help here. That the storage of any material that is stored off-site be required to have a siltation barrier, silt sock, etc., in order to control any pollutant runoff from any stored material, which may be off-site, as noted on the plan, the harbor parking lot adjacent to the James Brook. Secondly, that let me read my own writing here. An appropriate methods be taken for any dewatering activities on site, and I believe that there was a plan that was cited here. So I just want to make sure that appropriate methods for dewatering activities are taken. And there was another condition, Chris, I'll turn it to you about the filter fabrication if you want to.
So that all manholes adjacent to the construction would get a filter fabric liner to collect any runoff or sedimentation. And immediately adjacent to the James Brook property, hay bales would be installed for the period of time that they're working in that vicinity.
I would change the manholes to catch basins.
Sorry, catch basins.
Yeah, that's all. Certainly.
Thank you. Please include that, those comments by our chair into the motion, please. Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Trish Grady, second.
Having heard a motion, a second, we'll take a roll call vote. Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Eric Eisenhower,
Eric Eisner, aye.
Trish Grady,
Trish Grady, aye.
Jay Pampari,
Pimpari, aye.
Chris McFarland, aye. That vote passes 5-0-0. Thank you, Jason. Our next hearing, I need to read into the record. There on the agenda, there was a misprint on the agenda. It says 15 Stratford Terrace. The actual address, which was reflected in the public hearing notice, is 5 Stratford Terrace. In accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Cohasset Wetland Bylaw and the Cohasset Stormwater Bylaw, the Cohasset Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, July 15th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. via remote participation on a Zoom platform for stormwater permit 21-23 from applicant Anthony Nader, Stratford Heritage LLC, to construct a new single-family dwelling at 5 Stratford Terrace with associated septic and utilities. Okay, Jeff Hassett's back. Jeff, is there anyone else who you need to have promoted for this hearing?
No, I believe it's just myself on this one.
Okay, very good.
So thank you for that introduction. As you noted, this is a stormwater permit application for the construction of a new house at 5 Stratford Terrace. This lot is about 35,000 square feet in size. It's the last undeveloped lot in a 14-lot subdivision known as Heritage Lane. And so it's a corner lot. It's located on the corner of Heritage Lane and Stratford Terrace. It is currently undeveloped. And the high point on the property is approximately right where we are proposing the house. I guess it would help if I shared the plan. Oh, I've been disabled.
Oh. Megan, could you re-able him?
There we go. All right, so this is again a corner lot located on the corner of Stratford Terrace, with the cul-de-sac being here, and Heritage Lane, which extends to a cul-de-sac as well, which begins here. The lot's 35,000 square feet. It is currently wooded. The high point on the property is right in this general area, and the property flows down towards the roadways, where runoff is captured in the catch basins and then conveyed to stormwater basins that were constructed as part of this definitive subdivision probably about 10-15 years ago now. The lot is currently wooded, so we've located all the trees greater than 12 inches in diameter, and there is quite a bit of ledge on the property. The most noticeable piece of ledge is right on the corner. There's a vertical face here, and we've designed the project so that that will not be impacted. We're keeping the limit of work away from there. So this wooded area along Heritage and at the intersection will remain wooded. Currently, there is a kind of a roughed in driveway and a curb cut in the curbing here that will be utilized for the driveway. It's a 3-car garage, and the intent of the design is really to minimize the amount of grading and the amount of ledge removal. So what they're doing is a garage on slab here, and the rest of the house will be simply a crawl space with the exception of one small basement right here. Driveway runoff goes to a stone trench, and roof runoff will go to 3 subsurface dry well systems, 1 in the front yard and 2 in the rear. The only trees to be removed are the ones within this limit of work. The erosion barrier and the limit of work is this bold dashed line. All of the trees outside of that are shown in green, and they will all be, you know, beyond that erosion barrier, beyond the limit of work. They will remain untouched. It works out to about almost a 20% reduction in runoff, and that's because currently, you know, it's not much of an increase in runoff. It's a relatively small driveway. All the roof runoff goes to dry wells, and there's just so much impervious on the site naturally currently. And we are proposing trees. All the trees will be native. We're proposing a number of street trees along the frontage, and then evergreens for screening along the side and the rear property lines where appropriate. So thank you.
Jeff, is this project, does this need to go to large home review?
No, it's under the, it'll be less than 35,000 square feet of finished area.
So is this the first commission that this project's going to?
Yes, we have Board of Health. I want to say next week, but don't quote me on that. And those are really the only 2 hearings for this project.
3,500 square feet of building surface, correct? It's less than 3,500. You said 35,000. This is less than 3,500 square feet.
Yes, 3,500. Yep.
Thank you.
So I have a question, Jeff. What's going on the property presently? There are a couple of machines up there.
Yeah, we did perk tests on the property today, which were witnessed by the Board of Health.
Mm-hmm.
The intent of that is the property owner would like to move the septic system from this location to move it over about 30 feet. So that they decided they wanted to do that after we filed it, but I wanted to, you know, keep this on the docket, see if you have any other questions or concerns, but we will be submitting a revised plan.
Yep. Understood. And I must say to the commission that on Tuesday afternoon, there was quite a bit of material that had come down into the street itself and worked its way probably halfway across the bottom of the street curbing. So that, you know, I'm more interested in the construction access. And you say you don't, in your O&M plan, you don't note a size of stone for the stabilized construction entrance. I would like to say 4 to 6 inch, and that be placed right in your O&M plan. And my other comment, only other comment, seriously, is your emergency contacts need to be updated, the phone numbers. You've got the wrong phone number for the town hall, for example. It's not a big deal.
Okay.
But I like to look at details too.
I appreciate it.
Certainly.
Hey, Jeff, I'm really sorry because I do think you noted this, but I'm just looking at 2 things. I'm looking at your plan. I'm looking at Google Earth. It is heavily wooded. You said there are not any mature trees being taken down as part of this project. I don't see anything marked here. Is that correct?
If I said that, I misspoke. The trees shown in green are going to remain.
Okay.
And the trees within the limit of work, you know, immediately where the house is, the driveway and the associated grading, they have to go. And they are all the trees shown in gray.
Okay. I may have you might not have misspoke. I might have misheard you. That's why I was clarifying. Okay. So, okay. How many altogether?
There are 32 trees.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jeff, I don't have an answer for this question because it hasn't been brought to us at all. But there are new what are they? New bylaws that have come into effect, not necessarily part of conservation, but it has to do with tree removal. And I'm just wondering how that's going to be addressed if this doesn't need to go to the planning department. And I'm not sure whether or not, I'm not sure if even the building department has an answer for that question yet.
Yeah, I think this would be the first project that I've worked on that would be applicable. It's a good point, and I will review that to make sure we comply.
Yeah, because
I would
that
assume it's going to be
particular,
reviewed by the building inspector, and I'll probably start including that figure in the zoning table.
Right, around the
yeah, because
percentage of,
yeah, there's the percentage of tree removal and the
Right.
percentage of
clearing.
or the volume of excavation that's taken off the site. But I know that the way that particular bylaw is written, it's going to actually demand that all trees over 4 inches in caliper have to be identified. So that's
a lot of work in a heavily
like,
wooded area.
it sure is. Sure
Okay.
is. So,
Jeff, do you have approval for the septic system?
No, the Board of Health hearing is, I believe, next week.
Do you know whether you will be required to put in a denitrifying system?
No, we will not. We're outside of the 400-foot setback to those streams that require it.
Jeff, is this town water or any wells in the area?
Town water.
All around, okay.
Yeah, every lot in the subdivision has town water. They may have wells in addition for irrigation, and they left stubs when they built the road.
did the test pits, so the Board of Health's asking you to move the septic, was that because of the test pits, the earlier test pits?
No, the Board of Health hasn't even reviewed it yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said that I thought you said someone was asking you to move the septic.
Yeah, the applicant, the property owner.
Oh, okay.
He'd like to move the septic more over here into the corner to allow us to grade more of a walkout or semi-walkout in this area. And also, if the owners wanted to put a pool in the future, so.
Mhm.
So we had to put it here because we have to put it within the 2 passing test pits.
Yeah.
The only, now we have the test pits over here, we can move it.
Did you find anything different on the test pits done this week at all, Jeff?
No.
And
What sort of
there's plenty of
percolation rates do you
distance to ledge.
Yeah, we have to show 4 feet of natural material above the ledge, not including the topsoil. So basically we have to get down about 5 feet throughout the area of the leaching field. And we did that. And it's witnessed by by Phil Spath, who's another soil evaluator and engineer on behalf of the Board of Health.
Yep. Jeff, we have one question from the audience, and maybe you can answer. Sorry, I just lost it. From Anne Marie to all panelists. Anne Marie, I'm going to assume you're in a butter. If you could type in your address, that'd be great. The question is, what is the water runoff in the east side ledge that is currently crumbling?
So the east side would be the side facing Heritage Lane, where there's a pretty vertical face of ledge coming right up from the road. With all the rain we've had, it doesn't surprise me that you have some runoff coming through that ledge and within the cracks.
Anne Marie lives at 11 Stratford Terrace.
11 Stratford, okay.
Jeff, can you explain how that would potentially change, if it would change at all, with respect to the runoff in that area with the construction of the home?
Yeah, this will not impact that. we're keeping the erosion barrier well back from that piece of ledge. So there won't be any work in that area.
Okay.
Anne Marie continues to write. She says, it has been crumbling for years and is dangerous.
I don't know what to say. Well, I'll look into it. I wasn't aware of it.
Okay.
I'd like to add that, you know, it's probably Cohasset granite. It's probably been there for 240 million years or so. Right, Tom?
You're off by about 400 million years, Steve.
Oh, no kidding. That many, huh?
Yeah, well, give or take.
640 million?
Yeah, something like that.
Whoa.
But it hasn't been exposed for 640 million years.
Right. We don't know how long it's been exposed.
Well, probably exposed in the last glaciation. So it's been
Right.
exposed for the last, say, 5 to 10,000 years.
Right. Right.
But that's not to say that stuff isn't falling off of it from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
I seriously doubt that it would suddenly collapse.
You know,
Is there a sidewalk right next to it, Jeff? Is that what
that face of ledge was blasted when they built Heritage Lane. So
Okay.
you know, it's probably loosened up at that point.
Oh yeah.
It's probably a matter of getting in there and just pulling down anything that's could come loose on its own.
Sure. Sure. Yep.
Jeff, how steep is that cliff there, or how high is that cliff above the sidewalk? We're talking about a 10-foot face here, or 5
Yeah,
foot?
I'm looking at elevation 58 up to 68, 70.
Oh yeah, I've got that.
So it's
Of course.
12, 14 feet.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is substantial. There's no doubt about that.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, what's your position on this, since this is the newest, or I guess the first application that's in front of us after the setting of the land alteration bylaws, where we have a new application where it's not under conservation purview per se, but under the building department, where are we looking for a statement from somebody that says that the project complies with the land alteration bylaw, or you know how do you?
I think that's going to be for the building department to determine. You know, I don't know if they have made any plans as to who might start to look at those plans. I would imagine it would be a home review similar to the large home review. It would be a wooded lot review or something like that. But I think all we would do at this point is just put it in the order of conditions that the applicant needs to comply with the new regulations and present to whomever the building department tells them to.
I'm assuming it's going to be the building inspector, and right in our zoning table where we have building coverage, impervious coverage, we'll have another criteria, natural areas, undisturbed areas.
Yeah, I would think so too. And then if it's close or there's a concern, then there'll probably be some sort of a review process, like I said, that probably goes to the building department. I mean, to the planning department. So I would say that as conservation, I just was bringing it up as an aside, but I think we just assume that whomever they determine will make determination of that. This will get passed on to them next.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think as we move forward here, this is just the first new application that's come in. We're gonna be forced with bringing up the issue more and more, where there is question on whether or not it complies with the land alteration bylaw. While it's not a Conservation Commission bylaw itself. It just, it should be noted in if there were any approvals as stated, that it would be a special condition that they need to comply.
Yep.
Jeff, I have one small point. In your narrative, you called the woodland a poor woodland. My forester friends would hate you to use that word in the future. Maybe a better characterization would be a woodland that, you know, mesic, very acidic, and very, let me think, very sparsely wooded in the shrub and overstory layers, something like that. Okay, that's all.
Okay.
Small point, but important.
Okay.
We have any other comments? So the septic system is going to be relocated. Jeff, is there any potential in that relocation that you're going to lose additional trees?
No. Nope.
And then there's a dry well will have to be relocated as well. Is that correct?
It will, yes.
Okay.
Chris, there's another comment in the chat box.
Oh, also from Anne Marie.
Mm-hmm.
Does this chart have the square footage? This will be the smallest house. This will be the smallest house in the development. Does this chart have the square footage?
The square footage of the home will be on the architectural plans submitted to the building inspector for the building permit when the time comes.
Okay.
Jeff, what's the footprint size of the house here, minus the garage, or to include the garage?
1 second.
And just a note to the commenter, the square footage of the home is also not under conservation purview, where our concern or our responsibility is to make sure that there's no, we're concerned about stormwater runoff from the property, to make sure that there's no further runoff that's currently existing now, and that all water, to the best of its abilities, is infiltrated back into the ground. While it's a good comment, it's a little bit outside of conservation.
Okay, so the first floor is 2,500 square feet, and I know not the entire second floor is you know, part of the footprint. It's a smaller second floor.
Okay, first floor footprint 2,500 square feet.
Yeah.
Is that to include the garage or not to include the garage?
Not including the garage.
Okay. So you're going to be bumping right up against the 3,500 square feet, unless that's a really small second floor.
Yeah, I mean, I've been told it's under that, but I have not I've only been given a footprint of the house.
Yeah.
So we'll double check that.
Yeah, again, you know, out of our jurisdiction, large home review, but just want to make note for the record.
Yep. Okay. Any additional comments? Would we like to entertain a motion?
Jay Pimpari would like to make a motion to approve the stormwater permit for the project at 15 I guess it's 5 Stratford Terrace. Is that correct?
It is 5, yes.
At 5 Stratford Terrace, with a specific condition that the project comply with the town of Cohasset recently approved land alteration bylaw requirements.
Are you sure it's 5? It looks like it's 15 when you click the assessor's map.
Well, if
Can
Can you clarify that? What is the address here?
well, if it's 15, then we have to just continue the hearing because the public notice was for 5 Stratford Terrace. And your plans say 5 as well, Jeff, right?
My plans say 5. Mass GIS says 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have that backwards. Sorry, it is 5. The
Okay.
assessor's map confirms that.
Thank
I
you.
searched on 15 and it took me to the general area, but
All right.
yeah, it is 5. Sorry.
It's all right. I'm sorry, Jay, what was that order of condition?
It was just a special condition
Oh,
to approve the stormwater permit for 5 Stratford Terrace with a condition that the project comply with the town of Cohasset recently approved land alteration bylaw requirements.
And
Wait
I
here a
have
sec.
another,
Oh,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry, I have another condition, if you don't mind, and that the construction entrance be composed of 4 to 6 inch stone, 60 feet long.
Yes, I agree with that comment. Please include that comment into the condition or the motion that 4 to 6 inch stone to be used 60 feet long as a construction entrance in the operation and maintenance plan.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second, but I do have a question. I'm sorry. The
Don't second yet then. Go ahead.
almost second and a
Yes.
half. The movement of the septic system, does that have to be updated in the plan before the plan's approved? Because that's not this, what we're looking at today isn't where it's going to rest. That's what I thought I heard from Jeff. Maybe I misunderstood that it's going to be moved, correct?
Yeah, so the septic is going to be moved from here and moved over about 30 feet to here. It doesn't require the removal of any additional trees.
Right.
So if you're comfortable with it, I could just give an updated plan to Steve Ibis when we submit that to the Board of Health.
Does that have to, does that have to be noted anywhere in an order of conditions, or are we?
Well, we'll just note that there will be an updated plan provided.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Now I'll second it.
Okay, having heard a motion in a second, we'll take a roll call vote. Kathy Berrigan,
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Eric Eisenhower,
Aye, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay.
Trish Grady,
Trish Grady, aye.
Jay Pampari,
Dave Pampari, aye.
Chris McFarland, aye. That vote passes 5-0-0.
Great.
Thank you, Jeff, for a hard day's night.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll have to make it a short day tomorrow. Well, everyone, enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Take care.
That was our last hearing for this evening. We're going to move into some commission business. The first item under commission business is a chair update. The one item I have for update is that Tom Bell has been attending the Straight Pond Technical Advisory Committee, and he has graciously volunteered to be representing the Cohasset Conservation Committee Commission as a representative or liaison. I don't know, Tom, if there's an actual term or not, but I'd like to make a motion to have Tom be our liaison to the Straits Pond Technical Advisory Committee.
I'll second that.
Jay?
I just would say, if you'd like to know what it actually is, I can give you a brief. Before you give me license to go over there.
Okay.
Let me just tell you what it is and its purpose. About 10 years ago, the tide gates and the bridge at West Corner were replaced. And at that time, there was a lot of state and federal money involved. And so the 3 towns, Hingham, Hull, and Cohasset, EPA, DEP, CZM, you name it, the whole alphabet soup of this, it was drawn upon people from the communities. And anyway, it's an advisory committee that determines the conditions of operating the tide gate at West Corner. And it was reconvened after nearly 10 years because the tide gate automation system had failed. Hull had failed to address the issue. And so now that's being addressed, and technical committee has been reconstituted to determine the new title exchange conditions. So it's a technical advisory commission. It's not a committee. It's not, we don't have public meetings. It's simply a technical advisory committee. So EPA, state, and local are represented. And they had appointed Jeff Summers to the position, and that was, he never showed up basically, and then now he's gone. So somebody's got to do it.
Yep.
And I'm already on as a member of the Straits Pond Watershed Association. So I will just be changing hats, and we'll get a new SPWA representative in my place.
I can't think of anybody better to serve in that role.
Well, maybe whole town government could.
Tell me, is the whole town government responsible for the actual running of the weirs and the gates?
They are. It's a tri-town cooperative thing here, and we Cohasset pays 25% of the cost and is a silent partner. Hingham pays 25% of the costs. Hull pays 50%. They are the operator. We're not exactly a silent partner. We can speak up since our money is going to fund the operation of the tide gates and its repairs.
I've never known you to be silent, Tom.
No, that's unlikely to happen.
Okay.
So do we have to vote on this, Jay?
Yeah, we should. There was a motion and a second, so let's just make it formal. Yeah.
Okay. Kathy Berrigan?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second. Who seconded it?
I think I did.
Eric did.
Yeah.
Okay. Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Eric Eisenhower, aye. Eric Eisenhower, aye.
Patricia Grady?
Grady, aye.
Jay Pampari?
Jay Pampari, aye.
Chris McFarland, aye. That vote passes 5-0.
Go Tom.
Thanks.
Tom, you also have Turkey Hill, don't you?
I do have Turkey Hill, and that only meets annually. And
okay.
And the TAC meets as necessary. So we've had 3 meetings. We're due for another one soon.
Boy.
Hopefully that tide gate will get repaired soon, and we're certainly going to see something come before us, which would be a proposal or notice of intent to deepen the channel behind the Pope Memorial Church to increase tidal circulation.
Good, good.
That's going to be an interesting situation, to say the least.
Tom, who will be the proponent for that? Do you know?
I will certainly be a proponent of that. I think most of the people on the TAC are already, they're all proponents of it. It's why they recognize that Straits Pond has the capacity to get greater tidal circulation. We have a nitrate problem there. By the way, maybe some of you saw a reference to a model I made about nitrate load, where Cohasset is at least the load in our watershed is 90% of the load in the entire catchment for Straits Pond. And so presumably we're contributing 90% of the nitrate that's driving runaway algae growth, and as a secondary effect, a midge infestation. Annual.
Only 90%?
Yeah, we're at 90%. Sorry.
And where's the other 10 coming from?
Hull.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, they're entirely sewered. We're only sewered within, I think, around 1,000 or maybe 2,000 feet of the pond. So the upper part of the watershed, like the golf course, houses along Forest, Surrey Lane, places like that, are not on sewer. They're on septic. but they're quite a ways away. So there's a lot of attenuation of the nitrate by the time it gets to the pond. But in any case, we're probably the bigger part of the problem.
So the green lawns here, Tom, all those nitrates in the fertilizer.
That's right. And to put a plug in for that, we've got a a healthy lawns program to help people perhaps find time-release fertilizer and maybe make fewer applications. And if you use less fertilizer, of course, you use less water, which is
Tell me, Tom, is there any way you can give greater visibility to that program? Because I think it's very important.
Initially, it was started by a young woman named Montana Casals in State College, sorry, I'm still thinking about Pennsylvania, I guess, in Cohasset. And she is a graduate of CCDSR, and she started this program. And since she's attending college now in Maryland, and we've sort of picked up her lead, and of course, giving her lots of credit for it. And she's actually part of it still, but we do need to spread the word a little bit more than we have. We're also looking at a bylaw that Falmouth adopted, which limits fertilization, prohibits lawn fertilization between April 1st and October 31st.
What a great idea.
Because they have a serious problem with, obviously, with nitrate as well. So we're looking at that as a model bylaw that might be adopted. We might propose that it be adopted by Hull, Hingham, and Cohasset.
I think we need to start doing some propaganda at the golf club. You got a lot of green spaces there.
Actually, we contacted the golf club, and they wrote us a 2-page letter explaining their program of slow release fertilizer. So it was actually fairly impressive what they're doing there. I think golf courses are pretty attuned to this these days. And I think the guy that runs it has a degree in turf grass management. So he knows what he's talking about for sure. Great. I'm more concerned about our transfer station and landfill, actually.
Yeah.
Because they're right in the watershed. The golf course only has 2 fairways that drain into Rattlesnake Run. The rest goes to Turkey Hill Run, which is also a problem because that nitrate, if it reaches the estuary, it's going to go right back up in Straits Pond on the flood tide. But right now we're concerned with the direct impacts in the watershed. So
okay,
I'd like to maybe find a forum for more information. But tonight I think everyone's got a lot on their agenda, so I'd like to just run through kind of the update, because there's a lot of projects that are out there that people have questions about, and I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So Steve, I'm going to turn to you a little bit, and we'll just kind of run through this list, and you can just give us whatever update you have. 44 Border Street, the old salt house.
Well, it's looking good so far. I was over there on Tuesday, and they've got one more lift perhaps. I'm not sure. We haven't gotten a structural engineer's design yet from them, and we're still waiting for that. But it's looking good so far. As Jason noted, the materials that they've excavated are still in the parking lot over at the inn. And we went and did a review of that area. I'm sorry, not yesterday, but Tuesday, and we found that the catch basin needed cleaning, and there was fines that had gone underneath the silt sock over there. So we made a call immediately to the owner, and he said that he would clean it up. Though that silt sock that he put on the upland side, we suggested doubling that down to the downward side, down gradient side. There's no need for it on the up gradient side. Let's see, what's next? The harbor wall. Yes.
Just Steve, just a quick comment on the old salt house. Was there any independent monitoring done out there? I think at our last meeting or the meeting before, we talked about having independent monitoring and at least 2 site visits done. Where does that stand?
I know that Deb Keller was out there for at least 1 site visit. I have not seen her report yet.
And where is she from?
Merrill Engineering.
Okay.
I saw her when I went out to, and met her when I went out to inspect it with the building inspector. So she's, and you weren't there, so she's been there at least twice, I would say.
Okay.
Is there a way to get a copy of that report, or an expedited way of, if, when, depending on when that was done, it'd be great to have a report in a reasonable time frame.
Agreed. I will give her a call. Okay.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Steve, have you heard anything about the section of wall between the salt house and the gangway down to the commercial dock there? There's obviously, the second course on that is obviously deformed, and the top of the wall has obviously settled, just about the same volume of settlement as the bulge on the second course of that stone wall.
Are you talking about where the stairs go down?
The gangway that down to the float.
Well, there's stairs.
There's some stairs too.
Between where the work was done at 44 and the gangway. Yeah, there's some stairs there. You're talking about that particular area. I have not heard a word about it. And I think the next item, the harbor wall issue, is going to, do some work there eventually. And we came to a decision regarding what process to use for the 1,300 feet along the way, or the inside the roadway layout. Just recently, ERC LLC, a wetland scientist, had the idea of doing that as a RDA as well. And I happen to agree with that. And I had a chat with Brian Joyce just this morning about it. So what he'll do is he'll provide material as if it were a notice of intent. But again, it can't be tied to any deed. That's the problem there. Because it's a roadway layout, in the roadway layout. This is the way that things are done in towns. When the town DPW has to do work, they're usually done by an RDA that has the detail of a notice of intent. So that should be coming in the next couple of weeks. And you'll have a chance to look at that, okay? I think that was a very, very good idea. The next thing is 76 Lambert's Lane. Mr. Chairman, you may have seen emails back and forth from me to the landscape architect.
Yes.
Evidently, the landscape architect was not even aware of moving the sports court, but evidently the planters were. So I have emails into the planters, but they have not responded. So we're still waiting for the current landscape plan on which plantings will be based there. Okay, very briefly.
Steve, where would we go on that? If it sounds like, I have not been out to the site, I've been brought into a little bit of the discussion, but if the sports court has been moved,
yes,
and that's not reflective of where it is on the plan.
Oh, that's on the plan. That's on the civil plan, which you probably have, or at least
we only have the original. We've never seen any kind of updated plan.
Oh, I thought I sent it to you, Chris. The updated civil plan?
No, the only thing I received from you was the old plan.
Oh, I'm very sorry. That's my mistake then. I will try to get you the updated civil plan.
Okay.
Okay. All right. 256 North Main. Well, I'm not sure we have any jurisdiction there except for stormwater. And
well, I have a little update on that.
Oh, okay.
Actually, Jay could probably tell us better because he went back and found that project. That project was approved as is it a category 1, Jay?
Yeah, I was trying to do some research and trying to pull it up, and in our bylaws, category 1 stormwater permits can be administratively approved by the conservation agent. And so I looked at the time frame on when that occurred, and it was in early 2020. So that was administratively approved by the agent and did not undergo any hearings whatsoever by the commission. One of the issues, and this is something that we need to have resolved, is that the commission back in 2019, dating ourselves here, basically didn't allow the agent to make those decisions without Conservation Commission actually formally approving it, for the reasons that you see out there right now. There's a home being built. It's a construction project, similar to many of the projects that we're seeing tonight. It's a brand new home. There's a silt sock, there's a construction entrance, etc. There's chipping, there's it's a total demolition out there. So to move forward, yes, there is a stormwater plan that was submitted, that was allegedly administratively approved by our previous agent without any knowledge to the Conservation Commission.
Correction, there are 2 homes now being built there.
Well, yeah, I was going to get to that. Right. So I can forward you the plan that I dug up, Steve, but it's specific to 256. I see nothing in the record with respect to 254, but yet, as you mentioned, there's the chipping and the removal of material for 254, but I've seen no permitting of that.
And John Hallen and Pam Fahey, the health agent, were in a meeting recently, and they were looking at a plan that showed 2 houses, 1 septic system.
Yes.
Shared septic system.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have a copy of that plan, but they were looking at it within the past few days. And they were saying we need to have a powwow in the town on how to approach this, basically.
Yeah, I will do my electronic stalking again and see if I could pull up anything for 254, but if it's not on the OneDrive and it's not in our inspection tracker, I mean, I can't do any file search here on our end from the commission. I was able to pull up 256, but my comment would be, if there's no permitting in place for 254, then why is the town allowing it to continue to move forward?
I would have the same comment.
But Jay, I think it was permitted as a single, like with just the one address, because both houses are in that permit.
And as I understand, there's a lawyer drawing up an easement. They've broken the properties off, so there is a line. There was a line on the plan that I saw, and there's an easement for the septic system. I'm not sure if it was a pumped or not, but for the line to get to the D box, and then it was pumped up a leaching field to a shared leaching field as well. So this is going to be a complicated one.
Which is all in ledge, since that's what they're taking out of there.
Exactly. It's crazy.
Yeah, I actually have the plan in front of me here.
Okay.
If anybody wants to view it.
How did you find it? Where did you find it, if you don't mind me asking?
It's all on the OneDrive. If you go to if you go to the OneDrive and just go to the shared conservation files on the top, there's a search button. And if I can share my screen, I can't. I've been disabled from sharing my screen.
Megan, could you let Jay share his screen, please?
All set.
Okay. You see my screen now?
It's coming. There you go.
Yes.
Okay, so this is what I have that was submitted, what I was able to pull off the OneDrive for 256 North Main Street. And so you'll see that's the construction entrance there. That was the old house in the back. This is 254, as I understand the other house. This is the exposed ledge that they are now chipping away at, which, as you see, is off-site of 256. I've seen nothing with respect to the approvals of 254. All I can pull up is 256. And this was a plan that was allegedly approved by our previous agent administratively.
Mhm. Okay. Well, we'll look forward to dealing with this one, huh?
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll download this and forward it to the members of the commission and Steve as well
Great,
here.
great.
So you
Thank you.
have the plan of record.
Okay.
Next is 219 Sawyer Street.
Yep.
I'm waiting for the town administrator to give me a reading on it. Very simple. Somebody's got to clean up the material that's on the town property.
Mm-hmm.
Lot C, Dolan Lane, I was out there most recently today. The silt fence, I'm sorry, the erosion control is still on in the right place, but the roadway is 90% built along the ledge up there. And John and I had a discussion today, and he may do another stop work order and fine him and fine Mr. Stasko. It's getting to be very burdensome.
Is there a current stop work order on the property now?
No, we took it away to allow him to put the erosion controls in, and they're still not in the proper location.
So they're in, but they're in the wrong location.
That's correct. And a part of it is only straw wattle, which is completely ineffective. And in fact, there are TSS in the pooling area on the upgradient side of the Dolan Lane itself. And another portion of the pooling area is clear, but TSS is in one portion of the pooling area. So it had some effect from the recent rains.
Would a recommendation be to remove those total suspended solids, or?
Not really, because it'd be very difficult to remove them. I can't see of a method to remove them without destroying, burning the village to save it. It would be one of those examples. We're going to have to burn the village to save it.
So next steps are for Mr. Halen to talk with the homeowner about.
It's to talk with the applicant.
Applicant, yeah.
Yeah, to put a stop work order and maybe finally fine him, because we're tired of this. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
It's our favorite character in town. Next one is Pond Street and 3A. I have a meeting Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock with the DOT project manager, and his name is DJ Todesco, Todesco. The project there is evidently those lights almost failed. The project is putting in underground piping that has failed across Pond Street, which should happen probably tomorrow, and across Route 3A, which has already been done. But I don't know if you've been to the corner, that site, but they haven't treated the small stream there very well. Not at all. So I was, and he did make apologies. He said to me, we notified the town. And I said, well, who did you notify in the town? And how does that get to us? And he said he has no idea. So no kidding.
Great.
No kidding. So and he seemed to be very conscientious and was looking forward to meeting me and having me suggest how they could repair the issues close to the wetland resource. That's what he seemed to be, at least over the phone. Okay.
Okay.
So that was my impression. 554 and 572 Jerusalem, outside our jurisdiction.
Yep. Saw your emails. Thank you.
Yep. Sandy Beach, spent a couple of hours looking in that future mold-filled room under the library. Did not find the files. They're not listed on the file list either that somebody prepared. Sorry to say. 183, 187 Atlantic. I'm not sure what.
Can I just jump back to the Sandy Beach discussion there?
Sure.
Following up with that, as you know, Greg DeCesar from DEP received a complaint. I think they probably get a complaint every year This
Yeah.
is the annual cleanup of the Sandy Beach Association, getting it ready for the summertime.
Yep.
And so I was able to go back again and do a little electronic diving here through the OneDrive and our email system and pull up the emails where Jeff, our previous agent, Jeff Summers, had the discussion with the Sandy Beach Association. I did forward those emails over to you. And what, long story short, is the order of conditions, which we had approved on almost a yearly basis or extended, had expired in May of 2020. So they had no approval to do any work for the year of 2021. There was a long email chain where the Sandy Beach Association clearly stated they realized the commission mentioned over and over that the current order of conditions, this is like 2019 emails, would expire in May of 2020. A new order or a new application would need to be submitted. The Sandy Beach Association reiterated again in emails that they would reapply. They were fully understanding that the order of conditions expired in May of 2020, but yet a notice of intent was not refiled. So as of right now, they have no authority or no approval to be working out there.
Right, and I tried to get in touch with at least one of the people that was in the email chain. I have not heard back, but I did get in touch with Richard Henderson, a lawyer,
Yeah.
and he gave me a copy of an order of conditions from 2001.
2001, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, on
Great.
on that project. So there we have it.
So as far as next steps, I mean, I don't know how much work, if they're going to be doing any more work out there at all, but I think they should be made aware that they need to come in, obviously, and apply for a permit if they're going to be doing any work out there. Can we send a letter out to Sandy Beach Association with the contacts identified in that email? And Mr. Henderson is I think he's one of the trustees or the board of directors, is very familiar with the situation, informing them that they have no current order of conditions on record and need to come in and reapply?
Yes, we can.
Thank you.
Let's see, what's next? Oh, 183 and 187 Atlantic Ave. I don't know what to do out there. Those projects look fine to me. What should I do? I'm looking for guidance from the commission.
Steve, I was down to 183 and 187 today. I had received a complaint from a butter who I know that claimed that there was a tremendous amount of landfill that was brought in. I went down there in the muck and I found the place is pretty much in accordance with the plans that we put together. So I didn't find anything in the violating the plans that we had down there, Steve. So I agree with you. I think we should move on.
Right. Neither did I when I went down there about 3 weeks ago. So
there's still a hell of a lot of Phragmites growing there, which I resent after all the work we put in, but that's the way life is.
I share your pain.
I think that came about because I don't know if it was the same individual, but there was a complaint made to Mass DEP that made its way back to us, hence the follow-up. So
right. Moving on, 488 Jerusalem Road. I think that may be misnumbered. I believe you might want to talk about 457 Jerusalem Road. Was that the pile of rocks that Tom Bell saw?
488 was one that John brought up. He said that the developer kind of kept adding on to this property. And all I want to do is kind of keep an eye on it and find out whether or not we need them to come back in front of us or not. You know, it was a new home, but you know, all of a sudden the porch got enclosed. All of a sudden the bay window got extended. You know, it was so.
Was that under a notice of intent or a stormwater permit? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think
Okay,
that
no,
would have been a stormwater only because it's on the opposite side. It's an even number of Jerusalem. It would not have been a notice of intent. It would have been a stormwater permit.
Right. Okay, fine. Thanks. I didn't know what the issue was there.
Yeah.
Frank.
It's right on the corner of Linden Drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Linden Drive corner. Okay, and that does it for me for those at least.
Oh, hold yourself, Steve. I don't think you're out of the hot seat yet.
Oh,
May
no,
I
that's
bring
fine.
up a headache? I remember
Right ahead.
distinctly that 586 Jerusalem. Remember our friends at 586?
Yes, we were to do a report, a status report at the end of the summer.
Yeah,
That's
and
correct.
but we were to, as I remember, we were to monitor it on a regular basis to make sure that what was going on was in accordance with what our agreed plan was.
I
Am
do
I
not
wrong?
remember that statement, Eric. I do not.
You don't remember it?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. In fact, I take pretty good notes. But I because I was part of the applicant's team at that point, you know.
Are we
I
talking?
understand that.
Are we talking
Could you
about
check your notes,
589?
Steve?
That's
Yeah,
589.
589.
589, yeah.
Yeah. Could I
Yeah,
check my
Jay.
notes? Right now, no, but later I would be happy to. Okay, let's see. Is there anything else? I can tell you that I was over at, I've been at a number of spots recently. 508 CJC. I've been over at 5 Stratford, of course. I was there earlier this week. Is there anything else that I can tell you about? Too many things. Oh, yes. John Zimmer and I went out early on Tuesday morning over at 33 Stanton, and we agreed on where the salt marsh is. So we'll see another plan for the salt marsh at 33 Stanton with the dock. Do you remember that issue?
Okay, yeah. Yep.
Yep. So we did that.
That's coming up next week or 2
Okay.
weeks from now.
Okay. I had a nice chat with a gentleman named Paul Brogna. He just filed a notice of intent for 49 margin. They're going to raise, which means lift up an existing garage and boathouse to above the land subject to coastal stone flowage on that property. So you'll see that soon, hopefully. I had a nice conversation with how they're going to do their work, and they're also going to fill in the driveway so it matches the eventual future elevation of the garage. So that'll be an interesting project to visit. 44 border. Yep. Let's see, is there anything else? 324 North Main. A couple of requests there. Oh, yes, I'm not sure if I copied this to you, Chris, or not. I was asked to go out to 375 Beechwood. Evidently, somebody is trying to sell a property to the commission that's 98% wetland at 375 Beechwood. So I responded back to, I'm sorry, I do not remember the woman's name. I think it was L something. In the town halls. I'm sorry?
I say trying to sell a property to the commission, or who's selling?
To the town. The town. I was asked by the manager's office, and the woman contact was she a Laurie? Loretta? I forgot. She's a town accountant of type, I think. A town.
Yeah. But Steve, this is a candidate for the Conservation Trust. Anybody who's selling reasonably wild land should be pushed onto the Conservation Trust because they'd be glad to follow up on it.
Okay, I did not know that.
What was the address, Steve?
375 Beechwood. Very easy to find. It's a property that has been used as a dump site, probably for the across the street neighbors for many years. It's across from.
Yeah, I've got it.
Yeah, it's across from Bound Brook, the Bound Brook Farm there.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a stream that comes from the Bound Brook Farm onto this property, intermittent stream, breaks into two sections and then reforms, and then finally drops down into a pretty wet wetland, which I call a skunk cabbage wetland. It goes from a
Yeah.
ash and red.
But you know, Steve, the Cohasset Conservation Trust has a patchwork of often very single plots here and there that they've developed over the years that are very, very interested in putting together larger plots for trails and, ecological restoration. So the Conservation Trust, when you run into things like that, really should be notified.
Yeah, I know nothing about them, and I didn't know that. Okay.
They are probably the biggest transactor of wetlands and wildland in Cohasset. All right,
Who is the contact, Eric?
The contact would be Mark DiGiacomo.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, or Debbie Shad. Okay, and they are the largest accumulator of what I would call for future conservation purposes in Cohasset.
Sure. Shad spelled S-H-A-D, like the fish?
S-H-A-D-D, Debbie Shad.
2 Ds, thank you.
Summer Road. If you want, I can get a hold of her. I know her and put her in touch with you if you'd like.
Please do.
Okay, I'll do that tomorrow.
Yep. Let's see. I think that's pretty much the highlights. I've got a lot of details, but that's the highlights.
Do we have any documents for signature or approval?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a 48-hour question here.
Yep.
I guess it goes back to, the how we're moving forward with the order of conditions. I know we talked about this at the previous hearing and the hearing before that. I thought we had agreed that how we were going to move forward with the order of conditions, as you see tonight, where the commission makes a vote, and then we put in potentially special conditions, and then we kind of wash our hands of it, and then just assume, hopefully, that the building department incorporates all those conditions and it's recorded, etc. So I guess, Steve, just a question as far as, at the last meeting, we talked about having draft orders of conditions be available for the commission so that we can see them before they actually go out the door. As so I get, question is, where do we stand on that, and how are we approaching that so that we understand that these orders of conditions actually reflect the motions made and that they're going to be properly recorded, etc.
The breakdown there is that the notes from the meetings don't get out. I just saw the notes from April today. Okay, so they don't get out in a timely fashion. That's an issue. Okay, I have to rely on my own written notes for those things. Okay, just to let you know where the breakdown is going to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so those notes need to be out in a timely fashion. That's my suggestion. Okay.
Well, no, I completely agree with you. And I think we had talked about at the last hearing, whereby, as you know, the order of conditions have to be signed by the commission, and or we've given that signatory authority to the agent within 21 days. So
right. And I put out, let me think, 2 weeks ago, I put out 4 orders.
Okay.
Okay. I think it was 4 orders. Right.
So
with the proper conditions as I understood them to be.
Okay. So moving forward, and we approved 2 or 3, if not 4 tonight, just so we don't run into issues that we're all unfortunately dealing with orders of conditions that were filed by our previous agent just to make sure that all of the motions and the language is put in the order of conditions, I thought we had agreed that we would like to see a draft within 7 days.
Understood.
Can we make that possible now, again?
Yes, but I don't believe that last meeting you approved any orders. Is that correct? Can you tell me?
We had a stormwater permit approved.
Right.
We had 3 stormwater permits approved.
Exactly,
last hearing.
but no
Yeah.
orders, right?
Okay.
Right.
So like I say, moving forward,
Yep, you have 2 orders tonight that you approved.
yes. So
Agreed.
would you please share the draft order of conditions with the chairman? And just for circulation, I'm not doubting, I'm just want to make sure that the orders of conditions reflect the motions that were made, so that again, a year from now or 2 years from now, we don't run into some of the issues that we're dealing with, unfortunately.
Sure.
I think, Steve, you even made a comment, which I would agree with, that we put the order of conditions actually on the agenda.
That's correct. That's
So,
correct.
and
I
I have
did
no problem with that, putting the, quick and easy at the beginning of the meeting. We don't have another meeting for 14 days. So if a draft order could be circulated within 7 days, that would give the commission a full 7 days to review it. And at the beginning of the meeting, we put it on the agenda as an item, and then we formally accept the order of conditions. And I think that's good protocol.
Agreed. Agreed entirely. Yeah, not working 40 hours a week, it's really difficult to keep up with this material. Okay, I'll just let you know that.
I agree. This is a full-time job.
Oh yeah, and more.
Exactly.
Next door in Hingham, they have 3 full-time people who work it. No, so I'm sorry, 2.5. Yeah.
Any other 48-hour issues? No. Someone like to make a motion to close the hearing?
I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing, Mr. Chairman.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
I second away.
All in favor?
Quick vote. Kathy?
Kathy Berrigan, aye.
Eric Eisenhower?
Resoundingly aye.
Patricia Grady?
Trish Grady, aye.
Chip Impari?
Chip Impari, aye.
Chris McFarland, aye. We are officially closed for the evening. Megan, thank you again for all your help. You did a wonderful job.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Megan.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Maybe
you,
we'll hire
everybody.
Megan to be the new conservation agent.
There we
Chris,
go.
you ran a spectacular meeting. Well done. It was a great evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Not
you.
even 10 yet.